Accused number 3, Sposokolo Miegete's lawyer, Advocate Mtutuzeli Xozwa, maintained that his client did not enter the Simelane households to shoot the 18 people at Ngobozana. In his cross-examination of Abi, he tried to prove that his client did not take part in the shooting, alleging that he did not even leave the car. Advocate Xozwa says his client was in the car together with Lwando Abi, who was the driver. Abi confirmed that Miegete did not enter the crime scene but denied he stayed behind in the car with him. Accused number 4, Bonga Yinza's lawyer, Zama Somayela, will continue with his cross-examination of Abi.
Further afield, and finally, U.S. Democratic Mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, says he's held a positive conversation with President Donald Trump. Frey says he's asked Trump to end the ongoing federal agents' operation against undocumented migrants. The operation has seen mass arrests and the killing of 2 civilians. Meanwhile, tributes are pouring for Alex Prairie, who was killed on Saturday. The BBC's Carl Nassman reports.
Everybody we talk to here at this memorial, at the site of that shooting, tells us they want to see federal immigration officers leave the city. And that's going to be happening at least partially. We're learning Gregory Bavino, the head of the Border Patrol Force, will be leaving Minneapolis as soon as Tuesday, along with some of his Border Force agents. That says there's a case playing out in federal court. The city and state suing to see all 3,000 immigration officers leave this area. They say their deployment is not only dangerous, but also unconstitutional.
Recapping the top story, KwaZulu-Natal Hawks head Thulasizwe Simelane is expected to testify before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
In sports this hour, Everton shares spoils with Leeds Blitzbox Eye, Singapore's 7th test after Cape Town triumph, and Michael Schumacher no longer bedridden. More details at 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Let's start with a check between Pretoria and Joburg along the N1 going southbound. Looks okay. There is a breakdown, though, around the ramp to Atterbury Road. So just watch for that N1 south around Atterbury Road, a stationary vehicle obstruction. Also coming in from the Ekurhuleni side, a breakdown after the merge of the N12 and R24 route. So coming along those highways towards Galuli's interchange, there will be an obstruction. Also, if you're Durban bound, we're keeping a check on a breakdown at Key Ridge between Cliffdale and Key Ridge. That is already having an impact, slowing traffic up. Munsum Toti northbound up in towards the Umlazi territory. Breakdown there just around the M4 Southern Freeway split to watch out for. And there's also another breakdown on Durban's N2 South after Spaghetti Junction. Cape Town getting fairly busy along the N2 corridor from Khayelitsha through to the airport runway. And then from the airport through to around Jan Smuts, looking busy, and some volume building on the N1 inbound as you come through from the R300 towards the Sable Road exit. Just volume of traffic, no major incidents. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 6. In fact, it's coming up to 9 minutes after 6. Today is Tuesday, the 27th of January, 2026. The world you're waking up to this morning is significantly different from what it was when you went to bed last night. And that's because as the globe turns, key news and current affairs developments here at home, around the African continent and around the world have not stopped shaping, carving and contouring your world with each passing minute. That's why we get here bright and early every day to fully brief you on those developments as you start your day. This is the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday edition. Among some of what we will tell you over the next 3 hours, after weeks of fear and displacement, the Gauteng government has finally stepped in at the Sporong informal settlement. That's the area around Randfontein where you saw about 600 people or thereabouts displaced by violence that was happening, revolving around the illegal miners, the so-called Zamazamas, and their activities, generating a fair amount, and in fact a fair amount is an understatement, a great deal of violence and intimidation that made it nearly impossible for those people to continue to live in their homes at the Sporong informal settlement, with the result that in the last few weeks, they moved into a local hall in the area of Randfontein. So now, movement on the part of the Gauteng government to try and restore a sense of calm and peace in that area of Sporong informal settlement. So we ask the question whether this intervention by the Gauteng government and other authorities marks a turning point or yet another short-lived response to what is clearly a deepening crisis. We'll be talking a bit later on to the mayor of the Rand West City local municipality, William Matseke, and William Matseke will join me at about 7:10 to unpack some of the interventions and the sustainability thereof. So we'll talk to him at about 7:10. Just immediately after that interview and that conversation, we'll talk about this, another day of jaw-dropping testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. 2 witnesses taking the stand, one of them being a senior crime intelligence operative who is currently under witness protection and known only as Witness E for purposes of the commission. His astounding testimony covering everything from how he became aware of the plot to kill the late former ANC Youth League Secretary General Sindiso Magaqa well in advance of his 2017 murder. At least with some lead time, let's put it that way. Some lead time that would have allowed for a response or authorities to be able to avert that murder. And he says he tried to do that, but received no support from his superiors in trying to avert the murder of Sindiso Magaqa. Superiors that he alleges, by the way, also played a role in the murder plot, and also covering in his testimony how the now on special leave police minister, Senzo Mchunu, allegedly kept trying to find links, kept trying to link his predecessor Bheki Cele and the crime intelligence head Dumisani Khumalo to that murder of Sindiso Magaqa, and later allegedly tried to get Witness E to lie to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. So quite a lot coming out on day one of the hearings after the break, after the festive season break, and we'll get a full update from SABC News reporter Kenny Mapanga, who has been tracking the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And then at 8:45, we return to a conversation that we touched on yesterday. It has to do with the affordability or otherwise of rentals, especially in the Cape Town city centre and the Atlantic Seaboard. We touched on that issue, gave you one perspective yesterday. We thought we should bring it back onto the table. It's all to do with rising rents and the demand for short-term rentals and what some are calling the touristification of Cape Town, which is said to be pushing working residents out of the city. The inner city in particular, is said to have become completely unaffordable for many working class residents of the city of Cape Town. So we'll get a perspective from Professor Francois Verily, who is a property economist and emeritus professor of the University of Cape Town. So that's where we are going, some of the key highlights and milestones that we will encounter on our journey together over the next 3 hours. To the Morning Brief team, to your stations, please, for the takeoff. We've got N. Musa, who has your half-hourly news updates throughout the 3 hours. Duming Khapele in for Zaikan this morning and bringing you all your sporting action. Melissa Puta has a quick roundup of the stories that we believe you should be aware of that we are not necessarily able to cover this morning in the Morning Brief in brief. Dauleng Lechela tracking what affects your pocket and giving you updates every hour with her business and economics updates. And of course, Sipho Mantula with the Africa update at about 20 to 7 this morning. Your calls are an integral part of the conversation, so do call me throughout the 3 hours. The number to dial 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. This is the morning brief. Context, consequence, and conversation starting now.
The rivalry between the Proteas and the Windies hits the rooftop this summer as they both chase a crucial victory in the second T20 international encounter. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Thursday, 29 January at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus, SABC2, with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
There's a song that goes, "Money can't buy me love." And that's true. But then they told us all you need is love, which anybody with a mortgage will tell you most certainly is not true. Love won't pay your parking tickets or your student loan. It's also needy. It requires effort, availability, constant care. But more importantly, love requires time. And while money can't buy you love, it can certainly free up some of your time. Time to spend on the things you love, with the people you love. And if you're looking, maybe even time to find the one you love. That's why, after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do the things you love. And don't you love that about investing? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
16 minutes after 6. Let's start this morning, as always, with the morning brief in brief with Melissa Puta. Melissa, good morning. We start with local government politics, the shifting sense of coalition governance, doing what they always do. This time around in Ekurhuleni. Tell me what has happened with the position of the speaker in that council.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. So ANC's Dora Lambo has won the Ekurhuleni Council Speaker position, securing 91 votes with support from the ANC and minority parties. The DA's Lucky Dinake came second with 69 votes, aided by the FF class, while the EFF's Nkululeko Dunga received only 31 votes. Despite earlier speculation that Dinake would win amid tensions with the ANC, Mlambo prevailed with backing from council kingmakers. The ANC holds 86 seats, the DA 65, the EFF 31, and Action SA 15. Mlambo previously served as Ekurhuleni's mayoral committee member for community services.
And we continue to live with the fallout from the flooding in provinces like Mpumalanga and Limpopo. Tell me about the death toll and the number of people who are still missing in Limpopo.
So the severe floods in Limpopo have now claimed 25 lives, with 3 people still missing following weeks of heavy rain. The Limpopo MEC for Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs, Basikopo Makapu, urged residents to avoid dangerous rivers and dams, warning against risky behavior such as swimming or crossing swollen waters. Recent fatalities include children and adults in the Waterberg and Sikikune districts, with search and rescue operations still going on. Additional rescuers have also been deployed, and authorities continue to advise residents to stay vigilant during the ongoing severe weather. So we will keep that update going throughout the week.
One thing few people talk about is how efficient the city of Tshwane, particularly the Tshwane Metro Police Department, is at impounding vehicles. You park your vehicle anywhere in the city center illegally, chances are you'll come out and there'll be no car. Now, people who are in that position with their cars impounded many, many years ago, 2001 to 2004, are being warned that they better act fast.
Yes, so the Tshwane Metro Police Department have warned that thousands of vehicles impounded between 2001 and 2024 will be crushed if not claimed by the 28th of February this year. Owners must collect their vehicles from the MPD impound yard in Pretoria Central, present the required documents, and pay any outstanding fees. The city says that this move is allowed under the National Road Traffic Act and aims to recover long-term storage costs. They're also urging motorists to update their details on the e-Natus site to avoid losing their vehicles. So this is quite interesting because I've always wondered what happens to those vehicles if they're unclaimed. So this is a warning to all.
I would have thought it goes on auction after a while, but then again, this is what they do. They crush them at the impound. 2001 to 2004. So if your vehicle was impounded between those years by the Tshwane Metro Police Department, you better act fast before they crush it. Thank you for that, Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, I have one warning for you, and then I have an advisory that the Weather Service wants you to be aware of. The warning is a yellow level 2 warning, and it is in place over the central and southeastern parts of the northwest and over the central and eastern parts of the Free State, as well as the western parts of KwaZulu-Natal. It is a yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms with localized flooding of susceptible roads, low-lying areas and bridges, large amounts of small hail, and localized damage to infrastructure due to damaging winds. The advisory is a heat wave with persistently high temperatures is expected in places over the Sarah Baartman, Chris Hani, Joe Gabi, Alfred Nzo, OR Tambo and Amatole district municipalities in the Eastern Cape until Thursday, and over most parts of the Northern Cape, the Free State, as well as the southern parts of the Northwest until Friday. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria will be partly cloudy with afternoon showers and thunder showers with a minimum of 18 and a maximum of 33. Johannesburg will be partly cloudy with afternoon showers and thunder showers, 16 to 32. Vereeniging, partly cloudy with afternoon showers and thunder showers, 17 to 32. Mbombela will have morning fog patches and drizzle, otherwise partly cloudy, 19 to 29. Polokwane, partly cloudy, 17 to 29. Mahikeng will be fine, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers, 16 to 34. Bloemfontein, fine, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers, 18 to 37. Kimberley will be fine, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers, 21 to 37. Uppington will be fine, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers, 25 to 40. Cape Town will be partly cloudy in the morning, otherwise fine, 17 to 28. George will be partly cloudy, becoming cloudy from the evening, 16 to 25. Gqeberha will be cloudy at first, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers, 20 to 26. East London will be cloudy with light rain and showers in the morning, otherwise scattered showers and thunder showers, 22 to 26. Durban, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 23 to 31. Richards Bay will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 23 to 33. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 21 to 34.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
24 minutes after 6, a senior figure within German football has sparked international debate by calling for discussions on a possible boycott of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, citing concerns over the United States' foreign policy under President Donald Trump. The tournament is due to be co-hosted by the US, Canada and Mexico, but critics argue that geopolitical tensions, trade threats and democratic backsliding cannot be separated from global sport. The comments have reopened questions about whether football can or should remain apolitical after controversies surrounding the recent World Cups that were played in various parts of the world. And now we're joined by Calvin Ward Nielsen, who is chairperson of Nielsen Sports South Africa to unpack what this could mean for FIFA and players and international sport. Calvin, good morning and thank you for your time. This came from the German FA Vice President, Oke Gottlich. How important is this call and how seriously should we take this call coming from him?
Look, I think we should take it seriously. The talk of this boycott certainly isn't a fringe idea, and I think in Germany in particular, there's genuine public support for this call. If the US actions continue to escalate, so I think it is certainly something that needs to be taken very seriously. So far, it seems other major federations, for example, France, are not planning a boycott. Their leaders are sort of urging sports and politics to remain separate, but I think as a country, certainly us as South Africans, we perhaps understand better than most that sport and politics, impact on each other. And, I think we can have a lot of empathy for that approach by Germany.
Is it a conversation that's wider than just the German FA vice president? Are we seeing, for instance, I don't know, I saw the controversy around the pricing of the tickets among the fans being an issue, but I've not heard this conversation among clubs of fans around the world.
Look, we've certainly seen the ripple, and certainly there's a lot of it in chatter and social media around the world. So it certainly is something that we are picking up on. As I say, at this stage, this is the first time that it's come from a senior official in one of the bigger football federations. I think for football, certainly for major events, this would cause huge ripple effects, certainly from a commercial perspective to FIFA. Many of their sponsors are actually American-based companies. This is, I think it's serious. It's certainly a discussion that's starting to bubble up in right across the world. But at this stage, it has been limited to these comments from the German FA, and we'll have to watch as others start to take a position in the coming weeks.
It's interesting that the talk is about a possible boycott, which is action that the fans themselves and the teams can control, as opposed to any call to FIFA to take a different approach to the World Cup and perhaps exclude the United States, because that's a non-starter, is it?
I think commercially it would be a non-starter, certainly at this point, with only a few months to go to the tournament. Also, the fact that the vast, big number of the commercial partners for FIFA are American-based companies. But look, it certainly does raise a question as we sort of see the geopolitical situation taking place in the world today, when an organization like FIFA is hosting one of the superpowers. That sort of question of neutrality around FIFA does come into play, and I think we're going into an era where it's going to be very tricky for FIFA to align too directly with one of the superpowers, given the sort of great differences in opinion about so many things geopolitically that are going on in the world today. So, it's a difficult one. I think for FIFA and certainly for football, it would be untold damage. I think the commercial impact, and that impact would be felt not only by the participating teams, but by a lot of the smaller nations around the world that are financed by FIFA from a football perspective, outside of revenues that are earned from a World Cup like this. So it would have major implications.
And Kelvin, this idea of sport being separated from politics has always been a controversial one, that sport, has an element of politics in it. And we saw in what FIFA did in giving Donald Trump what they called their inaugural Peace Prize. Has that helped the controversies, seeing that FIFA is aware of the need to appease the Trump administration and therefore plays politics, while the argument continues to be held that sport and politics should be separated?
Absolutely. I think, it's as soon as FIFA did that, they've sort of, they've effectively taken a position. And I think that's one of the issues right now, is that people are looking and saying exactly where does FIFA sit? If you look at the geopolitics of the world, certainly for South African fans, we've always said, should sport remain apolitical even when global dynamics affect peace and security? And I think we're probably a country that has an enormous amount of empathy for that, because we understand that although boycotts can be very painful, if they're principled on the right principles, they are the right things. It's certainly one we're going to have to watch very, very closely. And I have no doubt that I think we're going to see more pressure coming on more federations from certain countries to back the German call. What that'll mean and whether we'll see Trump back down on this issue until after the World Cup remains to be seen. I guess that's probably one for the sort of political analysts to answer. Where would the damage be? Would the damage be to small nations, to football and players, and would it really mean that much to America? I guess is perhaps for, as I say, the sort of political analysts to determine.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your time this morning. Calvin Watt Nielsen is chairperson of Nielsen Sports South Africa. All right, let's go straight to N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the trial of a Limpopo farmer accused of killing 2 women and throwing their bodies in a pigsty is expected to continue today in the High Court in Polokwane, Limpopo. KwaZulu-Natal Hawks head Thulasizwe Simelane is expected to testify before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today. He's accused of having strong ties to alleged criminal kingpin Vuzimuzi Cat Matlala. And the Nigerian military says an investigation has found that some of the 16 officers arrested in October had planned a coup. A statement says those implicated will face military justice and the death penalty if proven guilty. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Another busy morning, particularly around Pretoria. A lot of traffic on the inbound routes this morning, coming out of Solomon Mshlangu, or coming out of Mamelodi on Solomon Mshlangu. Quite a lot of traffic jammed up towards the N4 highway. Mopani Highway backs from Theo Martins all the way down to Eskia and Patlali. Vanderboom Junction's busy on the Stibiko run out of the north, and even the Soutpan Road, the M35 coming to Ondersport. Quite a big backlog of traffic there as well. Other side of the province, into Joburg we go with a crash at Crown Interchange. The Mike 1 North and the M2 West are heavily backed up, getting in and through Crown for a turn up towards Braamfontein into that collision. And the N1 northbound through Diepkloof to Uncle Charlie's busy again this morning. Heading down to Durban, there is a breakdown. Left lane obstructed between Cliffdale and Key Ridge. So just keep your eyes open for some delays that may well start to build up through there. Cape Town looking fairly busy. The M1 inbound's got traffic between Okavango Road and Sable Road. The N2 inbound at Khayelitsha is slow towards R300. And Baden-Powell Drive looking quite heavy this morning. If you're going towards Muizenberg, quite a queue for the Mitchells Plain side to get through the Strand Fontaine Road junction. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkgapele.
Hey Tumi, good morning.
Good morning.
To what do we owe the pleasure? I don't mind seeing you in studio. The other one they call Zaikan, she abandoned me.
I squeeze, but it's good to be back.
Yeah, she now rolls from the bed and just switches on the machine. Anyway, we're talking Premier League football, yeah?
Yes.
Everton versus Leeds.
Everton have settled for spoils with Leeds. This is after Tierno Barry scored a late equaliser to secure a 1-1 Premier League draw yesterday. James Justin had given Leeds the lead with Everton booed off at half-time. But Barry struck 14 minutes before the end of the game, and Everton remain 10th in the table while Leeds stay 6 points clear of the relegation zone. Meanwhile, MC Alger coach Rulani Mokoena says that it's too early to give up on reaching the knockout phase of the CAF Champions League. This is despite his team sitting bottom of the log in Group C.
Well, it's you see, it's very complicated, this group. So we cannot give up yet. There's still there's 3 games to go. We have 2 matches at home, and anything can happen.
In terms of rugby, the Blitzboks shift their focus to the Singapore Sevens this weekend after winning their home tournament in Cape Town. South Africa will face Great Britain, Spain and Fiji in their pool matches at the National Stadium. Forward Zander Rayner says that the team must start fresh as the competition is very tight. In tennis, Ben Shelton battled back from a set down to beat Casper Ruud 3-6, 6-4, 6-3 and 6-4 to reach the Australian Open quarterfinals. He next faces Yannick Sinner in a rematch of last year's semi-final. Then Formula One legend Michael Schumacher is no longer confined to the bed. This is according to reports in the British media. The 7-time world champion has been out of the public eye since suffering serious brain injuries in a skiing accident 12 years ago, and sources close to the the family says that the 57-year-old can now sit in a wheelchair and is able to be pushed around his homes in Switzerland and in Spain. On that note, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndowling, good morning to you. Let's start with news out of China. Tell me about industrial profits returning to growth in 2025.
Morning, Tulas. Now, this is after 3 consecutive years of declines, industrial profits rising 0.6% last year as factory output expanded despite weak domestic demand. National Bureau of Statistics shows profit growth picked up pace towards the end of the year, with earnings jumping 5.3% in December, the strongest performance since September. Now, economists say the recovery was driven by policy intervention, including efforts to curb aggressive price cutting and by companies pushing harder into export markets. Factory activity also returned to growth in December, helped by pre-holiday stockpiling ahead of the Lunar New Year. Still, underlying pressures remain. Profits have been squeezed by intense price wars and excess capacity, while consumer demand lags behind. Retail sales rose just 3.7% last year, trailing economic growth of about 4.5%. Beijing says it will step up measures to boost household spending and support broader demand.
All right, tell me a bit more about these plans that Meta has for subscription plans for Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. If it goes the way that I'm thinking, a lot of people are going to be unhappy.
Very unhappy. They are just trying to squeeze money out of us. I am convinced, Tulas, that these are my personal opinions. I am convinced that they're trying to get money out of us because of the billions of dollars they've been spending on AI. And, investors are waiting for a return on investment, and we haven't seen that coming through. Now, this move is according to a report by TechCrunch. The paid plans are expected to unlock additional features with a strong focus on productivity, creativity, and expanded AI tools. Now, subscribers would gain enhanced access to Meta's AI capabilities, including its newly acquired suite of general AI agents under Manus. Meta bought the Singapore-based AI startup in December for a reported $2 billion. Now, the subscriptions that some people already pay for will be separate from, the subscriptions that reported to be coming will be separate from Meta's verified plan. And the report notes that the company will roll out the plans gradually while gathering user feedback. Would I subscribe? I don't know. I don't think so.
Look, as long as they keep the free option, chances are many people will stick to the free option, and only those who really need the additional tools that you describe will then go on to subscribe. Lastly, recap how we closed yesterday and how we're starting the day in the markets this morning.
Markets started the week on a positive note, Tulas, with US stocks in the green, some calm in the market ahead of tech earnings and the Fed's rates decision. Now, mixed picture back home, but the real story here is the precious metal rally that continues to fuel the local bourse, while financials and industrials slipped in the red. The Resi 10 surged 5% overnight, fueling a near 1.9% close in the JSE All Share. Now, the Rand also faring well, trading at levels last seen in 2022. Yesterday, it dipped below 16 to the dollar, but we are seeing it above that level this morning at 16.03. Gains, however, broad-based when it comes to the local unit, trading firmer against the pound and the euro at 21.92 and 19.03 respectively. Then over in commodities, oil remains range bound, trading below $64 a barrel. Lastly, in Asia, stocks in positive territory, with traders digesting the latest industrial profits report out of China.
All right, Dowling, thank you for that. We'll touch base once again just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. South Africa is riding the tide as far as the price of gold is concerned. PGMs, platinum group metals. You are telling us this morning that Namibia is riding the tide as far as uranium is concerned.
Absolutely, Thulas. Refreshing morning and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Thulas, this is according to the legal advisory firm in Windhoek at Clive Decker Hofmeer, saying that the uranium outlook in Windhoek, it is rising and its demand is very high from Asia, Europe, and as we know, Thulas, this has been one of the areas that Namibia has been strong with in terms of its stance on what we call the global uranium players in the world. You recall that you have China, you have countries like Russia. I mean, there are many countries to us when you think of uranium, but Namibia is able to export uranium worth 7.3 billion Namibian dollars to us. And that's how one can look at its energy future, how it's looking bright. And that's where this report is coming very to say that Katutura, Namibia, it is rising to us. The only issue is how they deal also with the water technology around it, recycling around it to us, because once you deal with those metals, uranium, cobalt, all those things are very important in the SADC region. It's also about management of it and how it benefits the national economy.
So after, his reading perhaps is that the dust has now settled on the election. Yoweri Museveni is now ready to outline his 5-year agenda.
Even if he's given the 5-year agenda, but there are still calls. I saw one of the exiled former Supreme Court Justice Esther Kisake condemning the post-election violence crackdown, accusing government of undermining constitutional guarantees and restricting political freedom. That was an open letter to President Museveni. But as you said, on his new term, 7th term in the office, he's saying that he wants to safeguard peace and security, eradicate household poverty, strengthen national unity, enforce discipline in governance, and finally support wealth creators to accelerate economic growth in Uganda. That is still have to be seen, so considering that he won almost 71% of the vote. Approximately 7.9 million ballots were casted to Museveni. Bobi Wine is still in the run, nobody knows where is Bobi Wine. The wife was beaten and government denies it, and you can see the son of Museveni and Bobi Wine on the Twitter streets. So there's a lot when you look at his father trying to shape Uganda from 2026 to 2030 as they're moving into another 7th term to us. But that's the normal script to us. We know when a president comes, he gives that overview of how does the state or the government projects its future.
All right. In the Southern African region, tell me about SADC and this emergency team that they've assembled to respond to the situation in Mozambique.
This is promising because, they've been the call from the government of Mozambique of humanitarian support and aid, and SADC dispatched a team to assist almost 650,000 people who were affected by the whips of heavy rain from last week. This logistic team, it will include those who will do on-search and rescue, public health, communications, you cannot leave it to us, and the civil and military coordination, because people have to be rescued in all those areas, in the villages, in some of the areas that are already affected by the rain, the schools, the health centers, those are the critical infrastructures. Like I said, to us, it's very interesting to see SADC dispatching such humanitarian mission. Beyond the peacekeeping missions, to us, it shows that humanitarian projects also are very important, also to cap disease risks that are rising in all those challenges. Let's hope that it won't be only Mozambique to us. It will be a standard that whenever in the region we have such issues, we don't have to wait for the UN, we don't have to wait for the NGOs, but the governments within the SADC have to consolidate and pledge solidarity in this crisis.
Lastly, Sipho, let's get to your historical archive. 2 chapters you want to open for us this morning. The first one is from the 27th of January 1980, and the second one, 27th January 1996. What happened?
I'm putting what I call political and soccer politics of the diplomacy. 46 years ago, Comrade Robert Gabriel Mugabe returns from Mozambique after having been in exile to gather support for ZANU PF Thulas. That was almost when Robert Mugabe went, it was 5 years in exile, came back, was welcomed in a high-filled black township of Salisbury, as it was called by then, Harare, Zimbabwe. And Mugabe spoke about there will be no more injustice based on race and color. Coming to soccer, Thulas, I don't know whether you know who scored those 2 goals. Those is the 30 years. It's the 3 decades of Africa Cup of Nations, where we look back at those moments when we beat Algeria in the quarterfinal. That was in FNB Soweto 30 years ago. Do you know who scored those 2 goals from South Africa? It was 2-1. And Zai maybe might not know.
It wasn't Mark Williams, was it? Because Mark Williams scored in the final.
You are close. You say Mark, you are close. It's Mark Fish.
Mark Fish. Oh, wow.
And then John Shoes Museu.
Yeah.
Those are the guys who scored those 2 goals, and it was under the guidance of the late Clive, the dog, Barker, who was leading that team after South Africa came back in the international sporting activities from 1992. 1996, we were able to lift the Africa Cup of Nations. So it's 3 decades to us of looking back at our soccer history and memory.
3 decades, Baba. 3 decades. That's a long time.
Asante sana Thulas, that's what's still leading the True Version SFM observing the education month.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula with your Africa update for this morning.
The Proteas believe nothing is as exhilarating as beating a tough opponent, while the Windies want to delight the people of West Indies. This is the 3rd T20 international match. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Saturday, 31 January at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
January is for intention setting, less noise, more meaning. So say yes. Yes to beauty, yes to culture, and yes to slowing down, and yes to Montreux Jazz Festival Franschhoek, where Montreux meets Africa with curated global and African music in an intimate setting. Don't miss it. Get your tickets at the end of January and make this your yes moment. Montreux Jazz Festival Franschhoek. Say yes. Visit mjfsa.com for details.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy backlogs currently through Joburg's Crown Interchange. There's crash scene just sort of north of the interchange to get up to the double-decker. So the Mike 1 from Goldreef City, the M2 from Joe Slovo, very heavy backlogs in and through the Crown for a turn up to Braamfontein. The N1 pretty heavy again this morning through Deep Cliff queues as far back as the N12 Potch Highway coming up through towards Uncle Charlie's. N17 Boxburg to Wadeville. On your way to Joburg, there's some queues there into the roadwork area. Just a single lane open to work through. And if you're coming from Pretoria North, just a heads up, that Soutpan Road, the M35, very heavy. That'll probably, I guess, catch you out coming in from the Shoshingube Mopani area, M35, Soutpan Road into Onderstpoort. It's a really big, heavy queue. Also, the N4 inbound to Hatfield, crash before N Street, backing up traffic, driving into Hatfield and Pretoria, coming off the N1 and the N4 highway. Durban side, if you're heading up the N2, there's a bit of traffic that's built up already from the M7 through to Westwood Mall. Still with the breakdown at Cliffdale Keyridge on the N3, but it's in a position that it's not really having an impact on traffic flow. A lot of traffic on the Higginson Highway, Richmond Road option this morning. Klaarwater through to sort of Savannah Park, that sort of area. If you come out of Chatsworth, you want to get through towards the Pinetown area. There's quite a lot of traffic on that run through. We'll keep an eye on that, see if we can work out what's going on there. Cape Town, highways are busy, particularly the R300 from Kales River all the way through to the N1. The N1 backs from Okavango Road at Brackenfell right through to Sable Road and looking very heavy. And the M3 is under pressure now with a solid queue from Constantia up to Paradise Road through the Bishop's Court area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The Billy Goats are hunting for 3 points in their own backyard to find a suitable position in the top half, while Wolves believe only victory can unlock the door to comfort. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch FC Cologne versus VfL Wolfsburg on Friday, 30 January at 9:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
10 minutes to 7. Gauteng is rolling out a new generation of what they call Smart Driver License Testing Centers, DLTCs, as authorities scramble to cut backlogs, curb corruption, and restore public confidence. And restore public confidence in the licensing system. The expansion comes against the backdrop of national license card backlog and the repeated breakdowns to the country's only printing machine for driver license cards. The provincial leaders say bringing services closer to communities is about more than convenience. It's also about road safety and legality. So let's hear from the MEC for Roads and Transport in Gauteng, Kidiboni Diale-Tlabela, who joins me now for that conversation. Good morning to you, MEC. We'll get to the rollout to communities and bringing it closer to areas, especially in the townships. But please just explain to us what makes these DLTCs to be smart DLTCs as opposed to ordinary DLTCs.
Good morning to Power FM, to SAFM listeners, and good morning to you. As Gauteng, we saw that it's important to ensure that you know that part of the challenges that were faced in what used to be called traffic departments was fraud and corruption that happens there. And we looked into new ways of doing things, and part of that is to automate our systems. And that's why we launched what is called Smart Licensing Centers. And remember that the Lesufi, when he came in October 2022, part of what we committed ourselves to is to ensure that we extend services to communities in townships, in informal settlements, and in hostels. And this was our contribution when we conceptualized this in 2023, and we started rolling them out. We have one in Mamelodi, one in Atteridgeville, in Motlakeng, Soweto, and on our Gautrain stations, one in Midrand, one in Sandton. So we're trying hard and to expand. We're busy in Katlehong now to ensure that people are able to access services smarter and easier. It's a cashless service. You are able to come out, renew your licenses, apply for learner's licenses, book your service, your testing slots, and be able to be assisted. And I'm told we've been taking reviews. It looks like people of Gauteng who have accessed the centers are happy. You are not supposed to be there for more than 20 minutes. And that's how we're trying to change the public service. Even the young people who work there are trained properly, and we hope that they will not disappoint us and continue with the best service that they're giving to people of Gauteng.
So there's a turnaround time from the moment a person comes in to the time that they leave. What is the factor that has made it possible for you to have such a turnaround time and also to eliminate the role of the so-called middlemen, the people that used to be able to say, I can facilitate that you get to the front of the queue in record time?
In our employ at the Gautrain Management Agency, we have young, capable South Africans, skilled young people who, when I shared with them that, from day in memorial, I think now when I went to a traffic department, I'll be traumatized first. Before you enter the gate, there's a whole lot of people coming to you saying this and that. And we shared that frustration with them that what can we do? We did visit to look at the challenges that some of the government traffic department are faced with. So we looked at we did the problem statement, went down, interviewed people on what kind of service do they need. And I tell you, this is a process that took us 3 months to conceptualize, finalize. They came up with a model, and we gave them an opportunity then to roll out the model for us. And this was an in-service. We didn't procure any certain, it was never a tender to anyone, but we used the capacity and the skills that we have and use the young within the entity, our entity of government, to say, how can you solve this problem? And I think we have learned a lot from that process, the importance of bringing on young professionals into government services and giving them an opportunity to solve the challenges that we have. We are also now conceptualizing smart driving academy, because if you check, the driving schools are not regulated. We all don't know who is training people to drive, and we get surprised when there are road fatalities. So as Gauteng, we've been conceptualizing, working closely with Saibono and institutions of higher learning in our province, CITAs and other entities, and using the same professionals within our entities to say, think of this problem. Can we solve it? Is it possible? So we're trying hard. You have seen us coming up with new number plate system. We use CSIR. So the state has capacity, and we've been working together with different entities to make sure that we capacitate ourselves and we come up with models.
But part of the product in inverted commas, that you deliver at the DLTC's Driver Licensing and Testing Center, part of the efficiency in delivering that product is dependent on other spheres of government, national government, and the printing of driver licenses. Tell me how that is manifesting in the province of Gauteng by way of the backlogs and how you're dealing with them.
So one of the things that we are doing, and which has been a challenge, the dependencies on other governments to be able to do and deliver some of the services. So what we have committed ourselves is to make sure that we sit with all these entities that we have and that we are dependent on. And part of those is the turnaround time by the National Department of Transport, because our sector is a highly regulated sector. We are dependent on National Department of Transport to do some things and concur with them. So now with Minister Chrissy, we have a direct line. We've got subcommittees that look into some other issues that require their concurrence. And you'd know the issuing license cards is centralized to them. And those are the ideas we are also sharing with the minister, that we should try hard to decentralize to ensure that we deliver services faster to the people.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Gidibone Diale Tlabela is the Gauteng MEC for Roads and Transport.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me get straight to one or two of your voice notes. A few people wanting to talk about the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, and it's only natural given some of the testimony that we heard yesterday from two witnesses.
Morning, sir. What is so sad about all these commissions, the Zondo Commission and now this Cannon Commission, is that we see all the shenanigans that these politicians and these officials get up to. And at the end of the day, no one goes to jail. No one gets prosecuted and no one goes to jail. Life just goes on. And South Africa goes backwards. From Cape Town.
Hello, it's Zick of Randburg, wondering when Witness E is going to be assassinated like Witness D was assassinated for telling the truth to the Madlanga Commission about the crime intelligence of South Africa, murdering Sindisa Magaka in KZN, yes, in our former Natal province, where terror reigns even to this day with senior police officers in crime intelligence killing people with impunity.
Yeah, Zig, thank you for that, and thank you for that earlier message that came through. I also had a sense of concern about the safety of the witnesses, naturally, after what happened with Witness D, especially given that, I don't know, I had thought that perhaps, as inconvenient as it might be, some of these witnesses, the way that they deliver their testimonies might need to be adjusted. The fact that you can hear his voice, and it goes back to what we were talking about with Witness D, you can hear his voice, and as he relates various events, if you lived through those events, you know exactly who this person is. But in this instance, of course, the differentiator is that Witness E is already under witness protection since 2019, and I imagine that those who are responsible for witness protection would want to keep their record, because I understand the record is that they've never really had a witness killed while in witness protection. It's 100% record. I imagine then that there's a reason it's like that, and let's hope that it stays that way. We can't afford to have another witness killed during these proceedings. Let's go to N. Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, pig farm murder trial set to continue in Polokwane High Court, and Nigerian officers face death penalty over coup plot allegations. Good morning. The trial of a Limpopo farmer accused of killing 2 women and throwing their bodies in a pigsty is expected to continue today in the High Court in Polokwane, Limpopo. Zachariah Olafir is facing 2 counts of murder for allegedly shooting and killing Maria Machatu and Kudzai Ndlovu in 2024. His farm worker William Masora has been charged with defeating the ends of justice. Farm supervisor Rudolf de Wit was charged with murder, but he has since turned state witness. Yesterday, Masora's lawyer Desmond Nonyane cross-examined de Wit, who said the aim of throwing the bodies in the pigsty was to conceal evidence. Rendani Ralipaswa has more.
De Wet also told the court that accused 3, Musora, was not present on the day the 2 women were killed. Musora is facing a charge of defeating the ends of justice for allegedly helping De Wet and Zachariah dispose the remains. Musora's lawyer has concluded cross-examining De Wet. The state is expected to call in another witness, a forensic expert, today.
KwaZulu-Natal Hawks Thulasizwe Simelane is expected to testify before the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today. He's accused of having strong ties to alleged criminal kingpin Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. Simelane is expected to answer questions on allegations that he helped Matlala secure a 360 million rand SAPS tender. Sibatle Mota reports.
Evidence before the Matlanga Commission has alleged that General Simelane and attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Cat Matlala had a close relationship. This is according to Witness X, who testified remotely through an intermediary at the Commission in October last year. WhatsApp messages presented by Witness X revealed a discussion between the pair about a purchase of a property by Matlala for Simelana's son. Witness X also alleged that Matlala sent General Simelane 3 different ID numbers allegedly belonging to President Cyril Ramaphosa in a document titled Memo Biz Traces.
The Special Investigating Unit has confirmed it's investigating KwaZulu-Natal's Umzinyathi district municipal officials. A presidential proclamation has authorized a wide-ranging investigation into corruption allegations. The state is believed to have suffered losses through alleged irregular tenders. The unit's spokesperson, Kaiser Hanyaho, says the investigation covers allegations dating back to 2020.
Proclamation 305 of 2026 empowers SIU to probe matters relating to the municipality's procurement and contracting, including the supply, installation and maintenance of ground dual static tank and fuel, as well as the lease and subsequent purchase of generator for the Vance Drift Water Treatment Plant in Ngutu. The investigation will determine whether these contracts and related payments were conducted in a manner that is fair, competitive, transparent, equitable, or cost-effective.
In the Eastern Cape, the cross-examination of state witness Luando Abi will continue today in the trial of 6 men accused of killing 18 people in Gobozana village in Lusikisiki. The incident happened in September 2024. 15 women and 2 men died in the shooting, while a critically wounded man died in hospital. Yesterday, Advocate Zama Somahela, lawyer for one of the accused, Bonga Hintsa, cross-examined Abi in the High Court in Mtata. Nomzonela Mgoma reports.
Accused number 3, Sposokolo Miegete's lawyer, Advocate Mtutuzeli Xozwa, maintained that his client did not enter the Singlina households to shoot the 18 people at Ngobozana. In his cross-examination of Abi, he tried to prove that his client did not take part in the shooting, alleging that he did not even leave the car. Advocate Xozwa says his client was in the car together with Luando Abi, who was the driver. Abi confirmed that Miekete did not enter the crime scene but denied he stayed behind in the car with him. Accused number 4, Bonga Yinza's lawyer, Zama Somayela, will continue with his cross-examination of Abi.
And finally, Nigerian officers are set to face trial over coup plot allegations. The military says an investigation has found that some of the 16 officers arrested in October had planned a coup. A statement says those implicated will face military justice and the death penalty if proven guilty. In October, President Bola Tinubu replaced the service chiefs in a leadership shake-up aimed at strengthening security. This as Nigeria confronts multiple armed threats. Analysts say these pressures have made internal discipline a growing military priority. Recapping the top story, the trial of a Limpopo farmer accused of killing 2 women and throwing their bodies in a pigsty is expected to continue today in the High Court in Polokwane, Limpopo. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Want to know how much money Outsurance saves 35-year-old Zanai on her car insurance?
A whopping 1,180 Rand.
That's an incredible 1,180 Rand monthly saving on Zanai's 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. And the out bonus she'll get?
It is close to 6,500 Rand in 3 years if I'm claim-free.
Nice. How much money could Outsurance save you? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
In your sports this hour, Markram excited to be back in Proteas camp ahead of West Indies series. Blatter urges fans to boycott World Cup in USA, and Lions reset at home after demanding a away stretch. More details at 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We started Joburg Central with a crash at the Crown Interchange. The Mike 1 north coming through from Gold Reef, and the M2 coming through from Benrose. Both of those highways under real pressure this morning. That crash at Crown has also been another one just up by Smith Street. So it's a double whack this morning. Very heavy getting through Crown. The N1 from the Potch Highway through Deepcliff. Only one Uncle Charlie's jam-packed again this morning. The main road coming from Lone Hill into Bryans. There was some traffic light issues. That looking pretty heavy as well. And there's some delays coming into Pretoria from the north. The Soutpan Road out of Shosingube down through Ondersteport, really heavy. That's the M35. And the Mopani Highway, no gaps from Brits Road, Theo Martins all the way through to Eske and Pathali. Durban, a crash on the Higginson Highway at Savannah Park. So there's some quite heavy traffic between, if you like, Marion Hill and Chatsworth. Also on the Higginson Highway coming out of Chatsworth towards Havenside. That run through looking busy. The M13 Hillcrest out into Pinetown, very slow for your Tuesday morning trip in. And Cape Town, heavy pressure on the N1 today from Brackenfell all the way through to Kubo Interchange. M5 from Kenilworth up to Kubo Interchange. The M3 standing from Constantia through to Paradise Road in the Bishop's Court area. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 9 minutes after 7. Welcome to it, the second hour of the Morning Brief on this Tuesday. It is great to be in your company. Do call me. The number to dial 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note to 0614 104 107. A bit slower, 0614 104 107. You can send a WhatsApp message there or send me a WhatsApp voice note and we'll play it back over the coming few minutes as well as later on in the show. Among some of what we will cover in this hour, we'll look back at the testimony of Witness E. Witness E testifying before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, one of two witnesses that testified yesterday. And the crux of the testimony centered around the now on leave Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, and direct interactions between Witness E and Minister Mchunu, which Witness E said, they came unexpectedly. He had never received a call from any minister of the government, ever. He started receiving calls, WhatsApp messages, exchanges with Minister Mchunu, and from those exchanges, a lot transpired, including the allegation being made by Witness E that at some point late last year, the on-leave minister, Senzo Mchunu, tried to get him, Witness E, to lie to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, in a way tailor his evidence when interviewed and deposing a statement to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. But that was just one of many aspects that came out from Witness E's testimony, including, of course, the testimony around the killing of Sindiso Makaka, where Witness E says he became aware a while before Sindiso Makaka was killed and tried to collaborate with his superiors to try and avert that killing, but received no assistance with that. So Kenny Mapanga will come back and report all of that to us and give us the full details of the hearing, as well as what came out from the other witness, a senior police officer out in KwaZulu-Natal. And then a bit later on, we'll come back to a topic that is becoming harder and harder to talk about in the country. There's a sense of what more do we need to say about these mass shootings, the levels of gun violence in the country. Yeah, it's one of those that's just difficult. It's really difficult to grapple with. Chad Thomas will talk to me about the warning that some experts are saying that the country is actually drifting towards a state of unchecked violence as mass shootings and targeted killings escalate. A few minutes ago, Zigan Randbeck was making the point about Witness E, that let's hope he doesn't get killed the way that Witness D was killed. So those targeted killings is what we're talking about, as well as the mass killings. Just this concern about the precipice on which the country, over which the country hangs at the moment. It really feels like we are at a critical moment and something has got to give as far as the gun violence in the country is concerned. All right, we'll take a quick break and then we'll start off with Kenny Mapanga reporting back to us on the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
The Proteas believe nothing is as exhilarating as beating a tough opponent, while the Windies want to delight the people of West Indies. This is the third T20 international match. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Saturday, 31 January at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Utawuchitheka umshibo. Regional giants have a tense and dramatic meeting. Amakhosi tackles Zigamambo. This is the CAF Confederation Cup. Experience the Southern African Derby, Kaizer Chiefs versus Zesco United. This Sunday, 1 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC1. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, another day of jaw-dropping testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. 2 witnesses taking to the stand, one of them being a senior crime intelligence officer currently under witness protection and known only as Witness E for purposes of the commission. So he touched on a lot, and I think I've recapped enough. Let me take you to Kenny Mapanga, SABC News reporter, who's been tracking the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Kenny, good morning. Many people saying that they were anticipating and awaiting eagerly the return of the public hearings of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, and the testimony straight off the bat on day one was explosive. Let's start with Witness E. What are some of the key threads of evidence that came from him?
Indeed. Good morning to you, Thulas, and to the listeners at home. Essentially, what we're seeing is a common theme being explored of alleged political interference and alleged abuse of power with reference to the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, directly in his role as a police minister, and then, of course, as an individual who allegedly had political interests. I think the evidence of Witness E and Major General Anthony Gopal is quite concerning to the public because it deals with a minister who was calling these individuals or lower ranking police officials in a reference to the provincial commissioner, and was seeking information directly about 2 specific cases. That is the murders of ANC councillors, the Mapida murder, I think that was in February 2025, and then of course the Sindiso Makaka murder. And he was seeking constant updates and information about suspects, etc., from those particular police officials about that information, but not, it seems that it wasn't for a greater good, but rather to pursue his personal and political interests, allegedly. And this speaks to this issue that has been traversed through the commission to us about the independence of these institutions and ministers, or rather members of the executive, not being able to allegedly infiltrate these institutions in order to serve their personal interests. I think an equivalent, if we look at a hypothetical example, to us, can you imagine if a minister of justice called a judge to find out the status of a judgment or a matter? Immediately, one would understand that that is not an appropriate manner in which to conduct yourself as a member of the executive. However, we're seeing this evidence being exposed through these 2 witnesses that show that the conduct of the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, was geared towards allegedly an ulterior purpose.
So there's a theme that I think I picked up, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong. The minister, from the testimony of Witness E, appeared to be particularly interested in linking his predecessor, Begicele, and the head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Khumalo, to the Sindiso Makaka matter. Talk to that thread coming out of that testimony.
Indeed, Thulas, you're absolutely correct. You've heard Witness E state that he gave the minister every single fine detail about the murder or plot to murder Sindiso Makaka. And of course, he gave them the information about crime intelligence officers who were involved in such a murder and had given their resources to ensure that the job was complete. However, from the evidence, what is clearly being shown through Witness E is that the police minister was not interested, allegedly, in that information and, I guess, getting justice or taking the case seriously about Makaka, but rather was interested in implicating 2 individuals, that is former ANC-NEC member Begicele and the crime intelligence head, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, to the extent that he insisted that Khumalo was involved in the murder, and he would seek information such as statements to prove that falsity, and going to the extent of calling Witness E numerous times to get him to write a statement that would be in favor of him at the Madlanga Commission. So it seems that it went much, well, rather he used his official role as Minister of Police to serve his personal and political interests. And that is at the core of what is being exposed by Witness E in that particular testimony.
And a final thread from Witness E, Kenny, that I think we should pull at has to do with the murder itself, the murder of Sindiso Makaka. The details coming out from there would have been hard for the family to hear, for those who loved and worked with Sindiso Makaka, that this all could have been averted.
Indeed. I think it's not the first time that we're hearing about the alleged involvement of police in that particular murder. But I think what is shocking is that witness E, as an undercover operative, had given the warning prior to his death, and there was an opportunity for Magaka's life to be saved. However, when you reported that particular matter, I think the discrepancy there that still needs to be clarified is he reported it to the officials that he, I'm understanding, didn't know would be involved in the said murder. So there was an opportunity to ensure that this man was saved. However, due to the alleged corruption in the criminal justice system and how far the plot went to ensure that Sindiso Makaka was murdered, he was unable to save his life because the very same people that were supposed to protect Makaka were seemingly allegedly involved in his murder.
Lastly, Kenny, let's talk about this allegation that there was an attempt to get witness E to perjure himself before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. That's extraordinary, isn't it?
It's quite extraordinary, and it doesn't reflect well on the police minister, Senzo Mchunu. It seems that when he saw that July media briefing, he was seeking information that would be in his favor. And I think one of those individuals that was targeted for such, I guess, a role would be Witness E, because you see him asking for an email detailing any human rights abuses that would have been allegedly committed by the PKTT. Because remember, there are these allegations about the PKTT that are being used by the other side, if I could put it that way, to defend the directive that disbanded the PKTT. We also see there is a recording of a phone call, and where you can almost hear the minister allegedly coaching Witness E to finish that statement that would be in favor of him at the Madlanga Commission. Quite concerning conduct coming from the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, with many stating that, at least from what you heard in the recording, that the president should be acting now. But quite concerning to see that the extent to which the police minister went to, and the extent to which there was an alleged abuse of power and resources, and his role as the minister of police to achieve those political ends.
All right, thank you for that. Kenny Mapanga, SABC News reporter, watching the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry for us.
The Whites are convinced that with top-class football, they will all smile on the field.
Cross up towards Calvert-Lewin! Dominic Calvert-Lewin! Terrific finish at the far post, but what a cross from Nonto, and Calvert-Lewin in place to do the rest.
On the other side, the Gunners of London believe it's time to show real character.
Saka plays another one in. There's the header! And there's the goal! And Gabriel Jesus is off the bench, and has he won it?
This is the Premier League. Experience Leeds United versus Arsenal FC on Saturday, 31 January at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
22 minutes after 7. After weeks of fear, displacement and mounting public pressure, the Gauteng government has finally intervened in the crisis facing residents of the Sporong informal settlement on the West Rand. More than 600 people were violently driven from their homes by illegal miners, forced to seek refuge in a community hall with little initial support. Later on, of course, the response came, and that has raised serious questions about municipal accountability, government accountability, and policing failures. Let's speak to one of those aspects and speak to William Matseke, who is the executive mayor of the Rand West City local municipality. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. Let's start with the return of these people back to their homes. There's a powerful video that was on social media of a man standing up at this interaction between government and residents, where he's asking for a name of a person that should be held responsible if they return home only to face that danger or be killed. That is extremely powerful and talks to, the sense of being let down in that community by community members. So as these community members are returning, what are the conditions that speak to the fears expressed by that man and others in Sporong informal settlement?
Now, good morning to Thulasizwe and good morning to the listeners of SAFM. When the incident happened, immediately as a municipality we would have responded because we will have requested the Deputy Executive Mayor as well as the Ward Councillor to respond to the incident. And they were briefing me from day to day as to what will have transpired. But immediately when we realized that the matter is getting completely out of hand, I then decided that I will take over the responsibility, and I will have reported to the Premier of Gauteng as well as different stakeholders, including the Provincial Commissioner, Mr. Ntombeni. When we were negotiating with the residents in relation to them returning, part of what their demands was to make sure that the area is secure. But I want to indicate to Thulasizwe that this is not a isolated incident. We are faced with inundated attacks from Zamazamas. We had different incidents that could have happened in Begesdal, Glenharvey, Pellsville, Senzele, part of Mohlakeng, now the community of Sporong. And we previously had written a letter to the Premier of Gauteng to request the President to deploy the South African National Defence Force to come and assist us with this catch of Zamazamas, because theirs is a territorial fight, and when they start with their territorial fight, it then to our communities, which becomes a bit of a problem. Because as you might be aware, part and parcel of our responsibilities as municipalities is to make sure that we implement bylaws, but the provincial government as well as the national government, according to the Schedule 4 and Schedule 5, they are responsible for community safety, and it is our responsibility to make sure that our communities are safe. And when we then negotiated with them, after we held several meetings with the provincial commissioner, part of the agreement that we've reached with them is that we are going to create what we can call a temporary satellite police station at Sporong, especially situated at an area where these people, as and when they start to attack, they start from that specific area. And we make sure that we go and inspect. I was with the Premier, I was with several MECs where we went, and the provincial commission, to make sure that the place is secure with SAPS and other stakeholders. We must also thank the city of Johannesburg, who have came on board to come and assist us in terms of securing the place.
So say a bit more about this call for the SANDF to be deployed, because it's clearly not a problem of Sporong informal settlement only. Sporong informal settlement only. You outlined the other areas that have been affected by this. Usually people make that call out of desperation of a situation that is completely getting out of hand. You'll hear communities making that call for boots on the ground in communities like in the Western Cape, in the Cape Flats, when gang violence has gotten out of hand. What response did you get, and are you satisfied with that response?
Yes, Thulasizwe. Over the weekend, I was with the Deputy President, and we agreed with his office, because on the sideline of the NEC Lekgotla, I met with the Deputy President together with the Premier of Gauteng, and they were basically saying to me that they are aware that the Premier will have written to the President, and the President will have requested the Deputy President to engage with me in relation to issues related to the deployment of South African National Defence Force. We have an appreciation that it takes a bit of time for the SANDF to be deployed, because it's got serious cost implications on
it really
government. However,
it really doesn't. It's a decision that can be made, and within days, as we saw in 2021, that once the decision was made, the resources can move around. What the point I'm making, Mr. Mayor, is that time is something that the residents of areas being terrorized, like your communities, is something that they just simply don't have.
I fully agree with you, Thulasizwe, but I'm adamant that it takes a bit of time, and that is why the President then requested the National Commissioner together with the Provincial Commissioner, whilst he's still applying his mind, and also having deployed the Deputy President to make sure that they increase the visibility of the police in our area. I can assure you that the Deputy President will have made a commitment. In fact, part and parcel of our discussion was to make sure that we convene an IMBIS in relation to the sketch of Zamazamas in the West End, because it's not a isolated incident that could have happened in our municipality alone. It's a problem that we are faced with in the entire West Rand, having known that West Rand depends on the mining sector, and mining activities happen throughout the West Rand. And we have agreed with the Deputy President that before March, we should have that in Biso, but we will continuously engage on if and when the SANDF will be deployed to come and assist South African Police Services.
Just a quick point of clarity, Mr. Mayor, I'm out of time. The temporary satellite police station, is that up and running, or is that something still being planned as communities return to what is a dangerous area?
It's up and running. We've deployed police officers that are there 24 hours. I've been there myself, and I've made a commitment to the community of Sporo. On a daily basis, I'm going there just to inspect and to make sure that they are in a safe environment. But we have also deployed our own security to augment the current police presence that are in Sporo.
All right. Thank you for that. That's William Matseke, who is the Executive Mayor of the Rand West City Local Municipality. And Musa on standby with the latest news.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, defense witness Makosonke Zungu is expected to return to the High Court in Pretoria when the Senzo Mehiwa murder trial resumes this morning. Zungu is the key state witness that Constable Sizwe Zungu said he was with when he went to a hostel in Vosloorus east of Johannesburg on the day Mehiwa was shot dead. The trial of a Limpopo farmer accused of killing 2 women and throwing their bodies in a pigsty is expected to continue today in the High Court in Polokwane, Limpopo. Zachariah Olafir is facing 2 counts of murder for allegedly shooting and killing Maria Magatu and Gudzai Ndlovu in 2024. And at least 20 people have died during a severe winter storm that's brought plunging temperatures to much of the southern and eastern U.S. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SAFM traffic with momentum. Just as you plan your route, only 15% of households plan for retirement. Plan yours today. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor for advice that meets your context.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a busy Tuesday, particularly coming out of Pretoria along Route 1 towards Joburg, queues between the R21 and Boerta Avenue, and then it gets thick and heavy from Brakfontein all the way down to a breakdown just before New Road. N14, the Krugersdorp Highway from Pretoria West up to the N1 Brakfontein on your way to Pretoria, that's fairly heavily backed up as well. Big queues on Allendale Road from Tembisa down through the Carstenoff Clinic. If you're on your way to Midrand, Allendale Road looks pretty severely backed up. And the Mike 1 Highway from Boysons through to Sandton is under pressure. No lights on Malabongwe at the N1. No lights at Bayers Nordia at the N1. Both of those approaches coming from North Riding or coming down from sort of Honeydew, Rampark Ridge area. Very heavy, as you can imagine, trying to get across a highway, a major highway intersection with no traffic lights. They're not new, but they're having a big impact this morning. A crash in Durban. It's on the Higginson Highway or Richmond Road, if you like, coming from Clavata into Savannah Park direction, Chatsworth. There's quite a backlog of traffic into that particular scene. Breakdown on the M2 southbound after Mugena Road, so that's quite slow. And a bit of pressure going into Marin Hill Plaza if you're on your way into Durban this morning as well. Cape Town Marine Drive, solid from Sunningdale through to Racecourse Road. That route is a really useful indicator of just how much traffic there is generally in the mix this morning, not only in Cape Town, it's just an indicator of it's a barometer, if you like, and it's heavy, Marine Drive, so it gives you an idea what we're dealing with. R300, jam-packed from the N2 all the way through to Fun Ribbick Road if you use that option. It's very busy this morning, and a lot of traffic coming in on the M3 route from around about sort of Kendall Road territory before you get to Constantia. It's all heavy right through to Rhodes Drive in the Newlands area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone. So why settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some? Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Hey, Dumi, good morning to you once again.
Let's get that out of the way, right?
Yes.
Our listeners are saying, I'm rude to come here to greet you alone and not greet them.
Yeah.
So, protocol observed.
The people must be greeted.
No, honestly, I do apologize. I do hope that you guys are having a good morning.
Who responds on behalf of the people, though? When you say good
no,
morning,
they'll send a voice note because they send voice notes to us.
Okay.
So, good morning, listeners. I hope you guys are good this morning.
Aiden Markram back in the fold, yeah?
Yeah, we start things off with cricket this hour, where Proteas T20 captain Aiden Markram says that it's exciting to have the squad back together. This is after a grueling month of SA20 cricket. South Africa faced the West Indies in Paarl this evening in the first of a 3-match T20 series, part of their build-up to next month's World Cup in India and Sri Lanka. And Markram believes that the series will help the players reconnect and shift their focus back to international cricket. In tennis, extreme heat disrupted the Australian Open again today, with temperatures forecast to reach 45 degrees Celsius. Organisers activated the highest heat stress level, forcing the roof to be closed at Rod Laver Arena for the remaining quarterfinals, while play on outdoor courts was suspended. World number one Aryna Sabalenka won her quarterfinal earlier in temperatures of around 38 degrees. In terms of football, former FIFA president Sepp Blatter has joined calls for fans to boycott the World Cup in the United States this year over safety concerns. Blatter supported Swiss lawyer Mark Peath, who warned that recent deaths in Minneapolis.
But I was going to actually interrupt you there too. Even Sepp Blatter says
he's even saying that it's not safe.
Sepp Blatter, of all people, he's not known for his scruples.
Nope, he's just literally saying, let's not go to the US, and also those strict US security is also a concern and could put traveling supporters at risk. He suggested that fans might be better off watching the matches on TV. So most people are just saying maybe we need to boycott it. Also, because remember, there's a number of countries that Donald Trump has decided to ban.
Yes, there are certain countries that won't be able to go anyway. Even if you want, even if you can afford the tickets, you are just part of that list. I suppose they're going to have a special dispensation for the World Cup. One does expect that. I mean, that peace prize from FIFA must count for something to soften him. So, allow fans from Senegal,
Botswana. Well, we'll have to wait and see. The tournament runs from June the 11th to the 19th of July in the US, Canada, and Mexico. Meanwhile, Kaizer Chiefs have extended captain Brandon Peterson's contract, keeping him at the club until June 2027. The club triggered an option in Peterson's current deal, ending speculations over a new long-term contract. Peterson had originally signed a 2-year deal in February 2024, which included the option for an extra season. In rugby, Lions coach Ivan Royan says that they have come through a demanding away stretch with valuable insight into where the team currently stands after an intensive run of fixtures across Europe. The tour ended with back-to-back draws, a 20-all result against Perpignan that closed the door on the EPCR Challenge Cup. This is following a 24-all United Rugby Championship stalemate away to the Ospreys. And Van Rooyen says that travel, cold conditions and limited recovery time tested the squad, but also adds that how the players adapted under pressure highlighted the group's resilience. On that note, it is a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
The Business Update on SAFM.
And with that, we turn to Ndauling Dechela. Good morning to you once again, Ndauling. Let's talk. Data expires. It's as if this data is like fresh milk. Has a best before date, and it expires. And
Before,
yeah.
Yes. I wanted to say before we even get into that, good morning to the beautiful,
Oh,
amazing
look at you.
SAFM listeners.
We thank to me for that. For whipping you into line as well. So this data that expires like milk, tell me about it. And ICASA doesn't like it one bit.
Not at all, Tulas. And now from next year, you and I will be allowed to roll over unused data bundles following a major regulatory intervention aimed at protecting consumers. Now, the communications regulator, ICASA, has gazetted new rules requiring telcos companies to automatically roll over unused data at least once at no extra cost, provided the SIM card remains active. The changes apply to most data bundles, with exceptions for those valid for 7 days or less, as well as promotional and uncapped packages. Now, consumers will also be allowed to transfer data to other users on the same network. The move comes despite strong
Hey, what are you
opposition
saying?
from-
Wait, what are you saying?
Yes.
What? So if you have data, you can now transfer it to someone. Well, when those rules
Yes, you
come
can-
into play, yeah.
Yes, I mean, you can also do it with airtime. Have you noticed? You can transfer it to another person that's on the
yeah.
same network as you. So,
okay.
yeah. Now, the move comes despite strong opposition from industry heavyweights like MTN and Vodacom, who warned the rules could undermine existing pricing models and called for regulatory impact assessment. ICASA rejected those concerns, saying there is sufficient evidence that data expiry rules unfairly disadvantages consumers, particularly vulnerable and low-income consumers who make up a significant share of the country's mobile users. So, yeah, from next year, you'll be able to roll over that data that says
Yeah.
it's expiring in the next 24 hours.
No surprises that the telcos were never going to like that one. Let's talk about the price of gold. Again, gold, the story here. If you are in gold, this is bumper harvest season. And it is the same for Pan-African Resources, yeah?
That's right, Tulas. And I always say all that glitters is gold, but it's true. It really is. Pan-African Resources investors will be smiling all the way to the bank. And this comes as the miner considers paying an interim dividend for the first time in its 19-year history on the JSE, as those soaring gold prices continue to boost earnings and cash flow. Now, Pan-African says its board intends approving an interim dividend of 12 cents a share after gold production jumped 51% in the 6 months to end December, and net debt fell by more than 65%. The company had flagged last year that it would consider an interim payout if gold prices remained strong, a condition that has clearly been met. Now, gold rose more than 30% during its reporting period, driven by global uncertainty and rush into safe haven assets. Pan-African says it expects to be fully debt-free during the course of the year. And I mean, that's not something you hear on a regular basis, right? In addition to that, the group is also progressing its 2.8 billion rand Soweto tailings project, which could produce up to 35,000 ounces of gold a year for 15 years.
All right, lastly, Dowling, how are the markets looking at this hour?
Kicking things off in Asia, trade is positive with the Hong Kong Hang Seng leading the gains up over 1%. Now, investors are digesting China's upbeat industrial profits report, but caution remains amid speculation that US officials could join their Japanese counterparts to help support the yen after a recent sell-off. A story that a lot of traders are watching quite closely. That move has also weighed on the dollar, but US equities have held up with futures mostly in the green today. Trade also mixed back home but a strong run in the Resi 10. Yes, the Resi 10, keeping the all share in positive territory, closing 1.87% higher overnight. The local unit trading firmer this hour at 16.03 to the dollar, 21.92 to the pound, and 19.03 against the euro. Oil prices steady at $63.68.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you one more time. In the final update, Ndauling will give you a sense of the direction in which the markets are likely to head on this Tuesday.
SABC2 is stepping into a new era, Papa, where every moment tells a story. A new era of conversations with Eintlik Let's Connect at 4:30 p.m, bringing real talk and South African voices. A new era of Afrikaans news at 6:30 p.m, trusted information in the language you love. A new era of family entertainment, Omar Sari at 7 p.m, celebrating humor, tradition and togetherness. A new era of excitement in a new time slot, Deal or No Deal at 7:30 p.m, bringing primetime thrills home. A new era of drama, Pimville at 9 p.m, a brand new powerful telenovela from Soweto that grips the heart, and a new era of flavor with a new season of Color Your Plate with Koo, Sundays at 7 p.m. A new era begins on SABC2.
January is for intention setting, less noise, more meaning. So say yes. Yes to beauty, yes to culture, yes to slowing down, and yes to Montreux Jazz Festival Franschhoek, where Montreux meets Africa with curated global and African music in an intimate setting. Don't miss it. Get your tickets at the end of January and make this your yes moment. Montreux Jazz Festival Franschhoek. Say yes. Visit mjfsa.com for details.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
15 minutes to 8. Security experts are warning that the country is drifting towards a state of unchecked violence as mass shootings and targeted killings escalate. The latest alarm follows the fatal shooting of 5 people in Atteridgeville, adding to a growing list of deadly attacks across Gauteng. Critics say reactive policing is failing to stem the bloodshed. Let's speak to Chad Thomas, crime expert and director of IRS investigations. Good morning to you, Chad, and thank you for your time. When this incident in Atteridgeville happened, I noticed that it didn't cause the kind of outrage and shock that you would expect, and that bothered me deeply, because it was in the midst of other reported crimes, other incidents. It was reported, yes, but I got the sense that the sense of shock didn't rise to that level. Does that say something about how the abnormal is slowly becoming everyday life in South Africa?
Very good morning to you and the listeners. You hit upon such a valid point. We've become very numb to crime in South Africa. And I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. I think it may have even been on your show, where I said, if somebody gets hijacked, the first thing that somebody asks is, did somebody get murdered? And they say no, and then everybody's relieved. When there's a home invasion, they say, did somebody get raped? And they say no, and then everyone's relieved. Well, there shouldn't have been a hijacking in the first place. There shouldn't have been a home invasion in the first place. But we've become so acclimatized towards crime, and violent crime at that, that we are completely numb. When we read in the newspapers, hear on the radio, see on the television, these attacks that are taking place, it's like a case of, oh, there was another attack at a tavern last night, or there was another shooting in Gangland, Cape Town, or there's been another hit. And this is not how society should be.
And in fact, I remember why. I remember what the other story was that we were focusing on. It was the mass shooting that had happened in Philippi East. And so as a result, the Atteridgeville one didn't get as much reporting as one would have expected. But as we see more and more of these incidents, Chad, are we able to get to, pull behind and find out what are the common threads and themes that seem to come to the fore for motives for these shootings?
So inland, we've been able to understand that a lot of the shootings taking place at the taverns in informal settlements and townships surrounding mining areas are normally cases where rival Zamazamas are taking out other Zamazamas. They know that they're not mining on that particular day. They're at a place of entertainment like a tavern or a shebeen. They know where they're going to find them, and they wait for them. In the Cape, we're seeing, especially in the Black Townships, a lot of tavern shooting as well. Very similar because it's a turf war and it's over extortion and protection fees that haven't been paid either by that particular tavern owner or it's somebody wanting to take over that particular area. And then, of course, when you talk about the coloured areas in the Cape where we're seeing a lot of shootings, that is simply turf war over who gets to deal drugs, where and when. So it's a frightening escalation that we're seeing. We're also seeing an escalation in murder for hire, which is premeditated assassinations of people that are either witnesses, investigators, lawyers, involved in high profile cases. And this, of course, is a grave concern. We thought with what happened at the July 6 presser last year, with the establishment of the Malanga Commission, the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Commission, that there would at least be some or other, reluctance to just carry on, knowing that there's going to be a change in policing and that so much within the police is being exposed where their deficit lies. But that's not the case. It seems as if these criminals are even more emboldened, despite the fact that our police and our policing structures are being scrutinized by both the Ad Hoc Committee and the Malanga Commission.
Not asking for shortcuts, Chad, but what would be the quickest route to a response that communities start to feel, given the complexities of these crimes that you've outlined and their rootedness in other crimes, your extortion, your illegal mining and the likes, and happening in social contexts such as taverns? What would be the quickest route to a solution? Would it be to flood the zone, boots on the ground, or would it be to address those other crimes?
So that's what they're doing. They're flooding these areas. It's called saturization. So they'll saturate a specific area, but it's a band-aid approach because then the criminals will move to a neighboring town or a neighboring city, and then they'll go into that area and then they'll come back because you don't have enough police officers to be able to go to all these different crime scenes or all these different areas and have proactive patrols. Everything at the moment is reactive. I call it the band-aid approach. So the same teams that are investigating murder for hire will be taken off that and have to investigate cash in transit heists. Will be taken off that, will have to investigate ATM bombings. Will be taken off that and will have to investigate kidnap for ransom. Simply because we don't have enough qualified members within our policing structures as detectives or as crime intelligence handlers. Those are the two major issues. When you don't have convictions because you don't have enough specialized members that can detect and take a docket that's ready for prosecution, criminals feel emboldened and they'll get away with it. If you don't have enough crime intelligence on the ground infiltrating these syndicates, finding out where the weapons are coming from, finding out who runs the different extortion crews, they're going to be able to just carry on and on and on. So we really have to focus on crime intelligence. We really have to focus on our detectives, and we really need to figure out a way of having proactive patrols using the provincial and the localized policing structures that will make themselves available to our national policing structure, the SAPs. And of course, we need to involve, like we've seen, security companies as force multipliers.
Yeah. All right, Chad, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. Chad Thomas is a crime expert as well as a director, the director of IRS investigations.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Around the Galulis interchange option this morning, particularly coming from Boksburg or the airport, the R24, the N12 routes heavy from their respective Edenvale exits all the way into a jam-packed N3 North connection at Galulis. Now, we've got a very heavy Mike 1 as well, a crash going southbound from Sandton, driving to Melrose just by Athol Oakland. So the Mike 1 south is heavy. Northbound, probably having a look at that because it is heavy all the way from Boysons right through to sort of Cornet Drive territory. I passed that crash in Allendale Road from Tembisa on your way towards Midrand. Some really heavy traffic. Expect to queue down towards the Mastiff Road junction. N14 that was quite heavily backed up this morning on your way to Pretoria. This is the Krugersdorp Highway from the R55 Pretoria West exit. It's still slow as you make your way past that exit in towards the M1 Bruckfontein. You might want to exit at the R55 and seek an alternative routing around that one. And the Mopani Highway from Theo Martins all the way down to Esquiamparrelli remains heavy if you are Pretoria bound. Congested conditions at Marion Hill Plaza, unusual for this time on a Tuesday. If you're driving to Durban, there's quite a big backlog of traffic to get through that plaza area. The M4 coming from Clarewood up to Rossborough, Jacobs to Clarewood, if you like. The M4 heavy as you make your way up towards the M7 exit. And Cape Town, Marine Drive, still really busy from Sunningdale all the way through to Racecourse Road at Milnerton, Bloberg Road to Kuberg Road, and Malabongwe coming off Sandown. Very slow going there. And Bosmansdam Road from Edgemead, heavy traffic across the N7 all the way to Summer Greens and Montague Gardens. Behind that, the N7 queues to get off with a backlog from about Milton Road in Goodwood. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The best summer experience is at the cricket ground. The Proteas and the Windies are gearing up for the T20 World Cup. This is the first T20 international contest. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Tuesday, 27 January at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2. With reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SABC2 is stepping into a new era, Papa, where every moment tells a story. A new era of conversations with Enklik Let's Connect at 4:30 p.m, bringing real talk and South African voices. A new era of Afrikaans news at 6:30 p.m, trusted information in the language you love. A new era of family entertainment, Omar Sari at 7 p.m, celebrating humor, tradition and togetherness. A new era of excitement in a new time slot, Deal or No Deal at 7:30 p.m, bringing primetime thrills home. A new era of drama, Pimville at 9 p.m, a brand new powerful telenovela from Soweto that grips the heart. And a new era of flavor with a new season of Color Your Plate with Koo, Sundays at 7 p.m. A new era begins on CBC2.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Straight to your calls and WhatsApp voice notes we go. Let's start with Tando in East Rand. Good morning to you, Tando.
Morning, Tulas. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for taking my call, Tulas. I wanted to discuss just the issues that we're facing right now with the education system. And we're obviously seeing this right now, witnessing it in Durban, right, where there's an issue right now of a schooling system which is mostly dominated by foreigners that are also undocumented, right, and also the teachers that they have right now are mostly foreigners. And obviously, as you know, we have a lot of South African teachers right now that are unemployed, but linked to that, Tulas, I'm hoping you guys can assist me. I have a family member right now who has a child who they live in Soshanguve, which is in an area, obviously Pretoria side, and they recently, last year, they applied for grade R for their child at a primary school called Rapelejo, which is in New Easteres. And my understanding what happens, I'm not too sure how this usually works with grade R kids, but you go to the school and they fill out the application forms, and it seems that this child, who is South African, was close in the early hundreds in terms of, I guess, his application number, right?
Yes.
And it seems that now he's been moved to number 140. And apparently the school takes 33 kids per class, and there's 4 classes, right? So if we do the maths, my maths is not that great, but that's 132 students that they take, right? So this kid should have made it onto the list, and he didn't. And allegedly, it seems that the principal and the school are taking bribes, and they're prioritizing foreign children and not prioritizing South African kids. And also, this kid was on the list to be accepted for schooling this year, and now he's gone from the early hundreds to 140 something with no explanation whatsoever. And when the principal was asked, he's just saying, no, we just need to pray, right? And let's hope for the best. But that's, the system shouldn't work like that. There needs to be some sort of audit that's done at schools. What is the process?
Sure.
I don't think...
So Thando, let me just engage you a little bit. The authorities released the numbers recently. I don't have them offhand right now about the number of foreign nationals within our education system, as well as teachers who are from other countries, foreign nationals who are teachers in the country. So I don't think the assertion that the system is dominated mostly by foreign nationals holds true in terms of those numbers. But that's not to take away from the point you are making. I want to understand that when you get those assurances about the numbers, that they don't bear out a domination by foreign nationals, is it cold comfort for you? Is the point that all of that is cold comfort for people who find themselves not able to secure a spot for their child in a school?
Yes, Thulas, 100%. Look, if it's foreign children and they have the right documentation and they also follow the same process as South African parents in the sense that they submitted their applications, etc., and their kids were number 86 or whatever ahead of all the other South African children, that's absolutely fine, right? But the moment you start pushing out South African registered kids and you're taking bribes as well, then that's a problem, right? So again, like I'm saying, allegedly the principal and the school are taking bribes for this, and that for us is a significant problem, right? Not all people, South African and foreign, will be able to afford to pay bribes. And to be honest, for schooling, no one should be paying
We shouldn't
bribes.
be in that system. All right, Thando, thank you for raising that. And it's an important point because in any system where there's competition for limited spaces, limited resources, sadly, the reality is that you will have that opportunistic rise in the corruption of the system. Raising an important point, really, part of the feelings of many that whatever the numbers and assurances by government that there's no prioritizing of children of foreign nationals. I remember we had this conversation about a week or so ago with the Gauteng provincial government, where they were assuring that there's simply no such that is taking place in the system. But I guess that competition for limited spaces and the need for more resources, just more classrooms. It seems that objectively, we just need more spaces, more schools being built, and it seems it's just not happening at the right rate. Let's go to Ann Musa, standing by with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, KZN lobby group leader faces a case of incitement to public violence and at least 20 deaths reported as a massive winter storm hits the US. Good morning. Lobby group March and March movement says its leader, Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, will hand herself to police in Durban shortly. However, police are yet to confirm this. The group says a case of incitement to public violence has been opened against her. This follows the group's protest outside the Addington Primary School in Durban since the start of the academic year. Supporters of the lobby group, as well as the Thulasizwe Party and Operation Dudula, had alleged that 60 South African learners, including 40 from families displaced in the 2022 floods, had applied for enrollment at the school but were not placed. They accused the school of making children of foreign nationals its priority. Defence witness Makosonke Zungu is expected to return to the High Court in Pretoria when the Senzo Mehiwa murder trial resumes this morning. Yesterday, Zungu told the court he did not testify on behalf of the state as he was uncomfortable with what they allegedly wanted him to say in court. Zungu is the man the state's key witness, Constable Sizwe Zungu, said he was with when he went to a hostel in Vosloorus east of Johannesburg on the day Mehiwa was shot dead. 5 people are on trial for allegedly killing the former Bafana Bafana captain in October 2014. This is what transpired between the witness and defense counsel Charles Mnisi.
Would you perhaps know any reason why you eventually could not be called as a witness for the state?
Statement.
What happened is that we argued about the statement.
Thank you. Now that you're mentioning that there was an argument, in other words, there was a difference of opinion. When people argue, it means they don't agree on something. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Yeah.
The trial of a Limpopo farmer accused of killing 2 women and throwing their bodies in a pigsty is expected to continue today in the High Court in Polokwane, Limpopo. Zakaria Olafir is facing 2 counts of murder for allegedly shooting and killing Maria Magatu and Gudzain Ndlovu in 2024. His farm worker, William Muzora, has been charged with defeating the ends of justice. Farm supervisor Rudolf de Wet was charged with murder, but he has since turned state witness. Yesterday, Muzora's lawyer, Desmond Nonyane, cross-examined de Wet, who said the aim of throwing the bodies in the pigsty was to conceal evidence. Rendane Ralipaswa has more.
De Wet also told the court that accused 3, Musora, was not present on the day the 2 women were killed. Musora is facing a charge of defeating the ends of justice for allegedly helping De Wet and Zakaria dispose the remains. Musora's lawyer has concluded cross-examining De Wet. The state is expected to call in another witness, a forensic expert, today.
The Northwest Transport Department says 7-seater private vehicles are not suitable for transporting learners, this following the suspension of their services. Operators, however, say the department's impounding of the vehicles is affecting their work, but the department says it aims to ensure the safety of learners and compliance with scholar transport regulations. The department's head is Dr. Hans Kekana.
The vehicles that the gentlemen and ladies that came through here are not classified for passenger ferrying in terms of commuter services. They are classified in the different category of family vehicles, like your own car with 4 doors. And one of those reasons is mainly safety.
Further afield, and finally, at least 20 people have died during a severe winter storm that's brought plunging temperatures to much of the southern and eastern U.S. Thousands of flights have been cancelled or delayed due to the severe weather conditions. The BBC's Nada Taufik has the details.
Hundreds of thousands of people remain without power, with Tennessee the worst affected. Air travel is still severely disrupted, with thousands more planes grounded. More than 11,000 flights were canceled on Sunday, the highest daily total since the pandemic. Several people have died from hypothermia or while trying to clear snow. In Massachusetts, a woman died after a snowplow backed into her in a car park. And in Texas, a teenage girl died in a sledding accident.
Recapping the top story, lobby group March and March movement says its leader, Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, will hand herself to police in Durban shortly. However, police are yet to confirm this. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. 30-year-old Dinewo knows all about saving on her car insurance with Outsurance.
I'm saving 1,094 rands.
That's an unbelievable 1,094 Rand monthly saving on Dinewo's 2025 Kia Sonet. And she'll get an out bonus.
If I'm claim-free for 3 years, then I get an out bonus back.
Ready to see how much money Outsurance could save you? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
In sports this hour, Blatter urges fans to boycott World Cup in USA. Blitzbox eyes Singapore's 7th test after Cape Town triumph. And Michael Schumacher no longer bedridden. More details at 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, heading into Pretoria, coming off the N4 onto Pretoria Street down into Hatfield. This is a really big backlog all the way through to about Watermeyer Street. N1 from the Brakfontein interchange, heavy as far as Olifantsfontein Road. Crash on the Mike 1 south at Attle Oaklands, heavy from Sandton as you make your way down very slowly through that Melrose area. And there's some real pressure going north as well this morning from Boyson's. Not many gaps in the traffic all the way through to Sandton. Galuli's interchange coming in from Ekurhuleni and 12 and R24. It's a heavy series of breakdowns and lights are down Malabon Kabongwe at the N1, Bayers Nordir at the N1. Some very heavy traffic coming out of North Riding and Honeydew Rampart Ridge area towards the highway this morning. Durban side, the N2 routing northbound, a breakdown near the just by the Booth Road Bridge, so north of the M7 up towards Spaghetti Junction. A breakdown there, keeping volumes high and speeds low. The Marion Hill Plaza N3 inbound is clogged up in the M4 between Jacobs and Clarewood on your way to Durban, heavy as well. Cape Town South Peninsula heaving along, some really big traffic through Cork Bay and Clovelly, both ways effectively between Muizenberg and Fish Hoek. A lot of traffic today. Also the N2 inbound from Robert Sobukwe Hospital Ben's heavy, and the N1 full of traffic from the R300 all the way through to the elevated freeway. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 9 minutes after 8. Welcome to the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Tuesday. It is great to be in your company. Among some of what we will tell you, we'll come back to the conversation that we started yesterday regarding affordability, especially rental affordability in the Cape Town city centre, in the wake of demand for such products as Airbnb and other short-term stay and tourist, directed products. So we started the conversation yesterday. We got the one perspective, and today we'll bring you another perspective that looks at just the social justice dynamics of it all. Can a city really thrive when those who keep it functioning can no longer afford to live in the city, is how we framed the question yesterday. So today we'll frame the same question to Professor Francois Veroli, who is Emeritus Professor at UCT, and will talk to us, a property economist who will talk to us about those dynamics. But before we get there, let me do, as I always do, read some of your messages. Someone here talking about the number of foreign nationals in children who are in South African schools and teachers. It's more than 250,000 foreign learners attending public school in South Africa. And South African learners, they struggle to find space due to this issue, including corruption from the Department of Education. Thank you for reminding me of that number. I think I recorded to be that number. And then I made a point about the number of schools that is just not being built at the pace that it should be happening. And someone taking issue with that, as always happens. Someone here says, will South Africa have unlimited means to continue building new schools to accommodate undocumented immigrant children? It's not about accommodating undocumented immigrant children. It's about your own population, your own children. My sense, and in fact we've had this conversation in the past with officials, is that as austerity measures have been implemented, the rate at which schools should be built for a growing population, immigrants or not, population is growing, it's urbanizing. Provinces like Gauteng continue to have an influx of people, not just from outside the country, but also from other parts of the country. The schools building rate has not kept up. That really is the point that I'm making. It's got nothing to do with, unlimited resources. Obviously, we don't have unlimited resources. And then someone else here says, TG says, the issue regarding the placement of foreign children and the lady who was complaining is right, and corruption in this country is rife, and trying to defend the department does not hold water at all. I hope that's not directed at me. Yeah, let me move on. I hope it's not suggested I was trying to defend the department. I certainly hope. All I try to do is help you see another perspective. I'm not trying to convince you that what you are saying is wrong and the department is right. That's not my role at all. My role is to say there's another perspective that says. That's what I was doing with Tando when she called in. And she took it for exactly that, in that spirit, and engaged with it. Anyway, let me continue. This person then saying, TG then saying, trying to defend the department does not hold water at all. And with this report about the imminent arrest of Jacinta by the state now, it is clear that the foreigners and their children are enjoying themselves in this country, and the authorities must choose between South Africans. And one thing for sure, South Africa is for South Africans, says TG. Then let me read this last one. All right, I just read that one from TG. Do keep your calls coming. 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief.
This is proudly brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
All right, as you heard, the next conversation is brought to you and sponsored by Nedbank. We are focusing on Nedbank Mid-Corporate. What is Nedbank Mid-Corporate? Well, we are told that it is a dedicated banking division, not a client segment or marketing label. And so to help us unpack what Nedbank Mid-Corporate is all about and what it does in terms of how it fits within the economy and the operating realities and opportunities and constraints facing Mid-Corporate. I'm joined by Herman de Kock, who is Managing Executive at Mid-Corporate for Mid-Corporate at Nedbank Business Commercial Banking. Good morning to you, Herman, and thank you for your time. I gave it my best shot trying to explain what Nedbank Mid-Corporate is, but you are better placed to do it. What is Nedbank Mid-Corporate?
Morning to the Thulasizwe and morning to the listeners. Privileged to talk to you this morning. Yeah, so let's focus on how do we as Nedbank define mid-corporates. They typically established privately owned and family-led businesses, basically non-listed, with a strong growth track record and mature balance sheet. Many are multi-generation enterprises with a strong entrepreneurial character and ambitions to scale. These businesses are deeply embedded in our communities in South Africa, and they play a disproportionate role in job creation and economic growth. I think, maybe just to wrap it up, that these entities find themselves at the upper end of the commercial banking segment, where they've actually outgrown the conventional commercial banking value propositions. And the value propositions from a corporate investment banking perspective are not yet really relevant to their basic needs. So we often describe them as the missing middle, where they find themselves.
Yeah. Explain what you mean by that. What do you mean about them being the missing middle?
Right, so I'll touch on why we see them as that, and then also, how do we as Nedbank respond to that. So I've mentioned that they find themselves at the upper end of the commercial banking segment, but they look for something more than your conventional commercial banking value propositions. They look for a bank that offer the right balance between solid banking and risk management solutions, whilst still honoring the highly entrepreneurial character of mid-corporates through overlaying their growth aspirations with an investment banking paradigm. And up until now, that balance has not really been found. And what we've done in Nedbank Mid-Corporate was basically, directly from the mouth of the mid-corporate clients, after really listening to them in the market, make a value proposition and an operating model for them. And this is all still underpinned by deeply entrenched relationships, even at a senior management level. So just quickly to give you structure on what do we bring, apart from the sector-led structuring where there is deep sector knowledge, we have dedicated coverage and service teams, and that's underpinned by a high-touch service model. We have a dedicated made-for-you credit decision-making framework and paradigm. In other words, the credit cases that come through are being tabled at a dedicated mid-corporate credit committee that bring that investment banking lens with quicker and fast turnaround times. And then, really importantly, because of the challenges that mid-corporates face in the economy, a strong advisory-led approach. And that comes down to balance sheet structuring that goes beyond senior debt. We incorporate mezzanine finance, private equity, private credit, and basically optimal capital mix where appropriate. all in all, it comes down to finding, as I've mentioned, this balance between assisting these entities with their growth aspirations and also proper risk management and bring in a paradigm that unlocks their growth. And as we like to say, we back the entrepreneurs, not just the balance sheets.
Yeah. I suppose resilience and competitiveness are very important for mid-corporate segment that you are targeting. What should mid-corporate business leaders be prioritizing? Just taking a short to medium-term view, what should they be prioritizing, say, in the next 12 to 18 months to remain resilient and competitive?
So if we take a look at 2026 and also maybe focusing on the wake left by 2025, a very positive outlook. And there's a lot of tailwinds that is setting the South African economy up for, I think, a good year. If we just look at the FATFA removal, we're not on that grey list anymore. We have favorable interest rates that is going to boost growth. So it's really important for mid-corporates to identify the opportunities. And they need to focus on strong cash flow discipline and balance sheet resilience. You know, there's that saying, profit is an accounting outcome, cash flow is a business outcome. Really important to identify the opportunities. And in the mid-corporate space, many times growth comes through bolt-on acquisitions. Work closely with a bank that gives you that advice on the wrong that complements your growth aspiration. We know that ESG is high on the agenda. It's really important to invest in ESG. I think there's been many business cases that prove that it's not just a regulatory drive, but it actually makes business sense if we manage our natural resources that are finite in a responsible manner. And we are actually partnering with third parties that not only bring the banking solutions, but also the solid advice on what is a sustainable investment model in your responsible use of natural resources.
Yeah.
Focus on the strengthening of supply and energy logistics. And talk to Nedbank Mid-Corporate. We are keen to start a partnership.
Yeah, I think it might be beneficial, Herman, just for the benefit of some of our listeners who are not really that familiar and au fait with mid-corporate, just for you to go over it again. And in fact, some maybe in enterprises that fall within that segment, but don't have the characteristics that define mid-corporate. So perhaps if you can go over it again and perhaps give some examples and then close it off with that offering that talks to how you meet them at their point of need.
Pleasure. So mid-corporates are entities that are family-owned, privately owned at the upper end of the commercial banking segment, and they are approaching turnover levels of R1 billion, and they are non-listed entities with a strong growth thesis and mature balance sheets, but need the right advice to structure those balance sheets to get the optimal growth that they need. Typical industries, but not limited to those, are our manufacturing industry and the agri industry. There's even in the professional services, and that goes across medical, financial, etc. Industries. The tourism industry, a strong and booming industry in the South African context. So that's mentioning some of those examples. And then finally, how do we bring the value proposition to you? It is an operating model and a value proposition made for you that's built on high-touch service, dedicated and deep mid-corporate understanding credit paradigm, and advisory-led solutions.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Herman de Kock, Managing Executive Mid-Corporate at Nedbank Business Commercial Banking. And that conversation was brought to you and sponsored by Nedbank.
This was proudly brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. When you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Nedbank is more than just a bank. We're a growth partner because we understand that real success happens when you're looking ahead, spotting opportunities others miss, and planning for tomorrow, today. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
They delivered an exhilarating brand of the beautiful game. On and off the battlefield, in the boardroom, behind the scenes, the pitch personnel, coaches, administrators and officials. Dress up and walk the purple carpet. It is her time to shine. Join the celebration of Sheroes and barrier breakers. Experience the Hollywood Bet Super League Awards on Sunday 1 February at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 1. Also available on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Straight to your calls we go. Let me start with a call from Thabiso Zulu in KZN. Is this the Thabiso Zulu? Good morning.
Good morning, Thulas. Good morning.
Yeah, Phela kunjani?
No, we're trying. Yeah, look, one would like to reflect on the testimony yesterday of witness E. We had an interaction as a family yesterday, the Makaka family, and our view is that all these things, what is being called the revelations, are things that have been known by some of us, especially myself and others. We've been speaking out openly to say there were many other people that were involved in the conspiracy and the assassination, conspiracy to murder the late Cindy Somakak. And we've been calling that the state, if it is interested and if it protects the citizens of this country, it must arrest all those who were involved. It must not pick and choose. We are at a space where even now we believe that for us to see justice being done, it will be rounding up and arresting all those policemen that were involved, but also to trace where the money that was stolen in local municipalities that went, because we are having a strong view that the only reason that, among the reasons that there is this serious cover-up that is being made in this whole thing, it's because the people that benefited in that thing is not only Mule Indobe and the Skosana and a few others, but the money may have gone, and I'm using may deliberately, the money may have gone to some serious, to pockets of some serious people. And we are pleading the president, we are pleading with the National Commissioner and the MPA to please speed up and try to show this thing has been going on for many years. The mother is frail. She always complains about this. All that she sees are the names, the name of her child keep on being mentioned everywhere, but she's not getting justice that she demands.
Yeah. And Thabiso, I was just wondering, as I was watching the Madlanga Commission yesterday and hearing that this murder of Cindy Somakaka could have been averted, that someone in the policing system with the wherewithal to, tap into the various chain of commands, could have been averted, but as according to witness E, that didn't happen simply because some of these officials that he was reporting to ended up being roped into this scheme. I could not imagine how that went down with the family, that their grief, their pain, their trauma, the state had the wherewithal to avert it, but due to various reasons, it just didn't exercise that authority.
Yes. We also feel that witness E maybe didn't go to an extent of placing everything on record. You are aware that we've been involved in trying to find the truth in this for all these years. There are other things that we believe we could have said, and those things would have made the Mandela Commission and the public to understand the matter better. He is not just an innocent bystander. He went to Mzinga to fetch a firearm, right? He was there when the Kainkane Mdunge, Jablan Kainkane Mdunge and the Sibusiso Ngwengwa were trained with their weapons, preparing to go and do whatever they were planning to do. He was going to be the driver of one of the cars on the day the Sindis was going to be murdered, right? So there are lots of other things. But the other thing which is important, just in closure for completeness sake.
Yeah.
The other thing that we believe may put him in a little bit of a difficulty is he claimed yesterday that his number is only known by a few of his colleagues and the office of the Inspector General. That's not true. His number is known at least by 3 other people, and at a right platform that will be proved that his number. And some of the conversations, he is the initiator. I'm not talking about Minister Mtun. I'm not interested. I'm not in Mtunu's corner. I'm not in the other Campo's corner. We are at the corner of Sindiso Makaka. All that we're interested in finding the truth in the Sindiso Makaka matter. We don't want to be diverted by the other matters on periphery and palace politics and other things. We're not interested in that. So we believe that what will solve all this is to arrest those policemen. That's the bottom of the whole thing, and arrest other politicians that are not yet arrested in the whole thing.
All right. Thabiso, thank you for calling in. That's Thabiso Zulu, a friend of the late Sindiso Makaka, but also really close to the family and speaking there, having interacted and being part of the family of Sindiso Makaka, reacting to the revelations that came through from the Madlanga Commission and giving a perspective, because you can imagine it must be very difficult for the family to hear that level of detail. But as Thabiso says, they've been engaged with this issue all these years, and some of what we think are revelations, people such as Thabiso Zulu have long suspected or known a fair amount about, and now are calling for everything to be unearthed and for everyone to be held to account that was a part of that murder plot. Let's go to Ann Musa and come back with an update on your traffic and your sport. Mr. Monosi, I will come to your call in a while.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headline, civic organisation Sanko in Gauteng has called for an urgent investigation into the ANC's election integrity. This follows the discovery of ballot papers at a house in Pretoria. The ballots were from the party's Johannesburg conference, which saw Loyiso Masuku elected as the region's new chairperson. Police are yet to confirm lobby group March and March movement statement that its leader Jacinta Ngobese Zuma will hand herself to police in Durban today. The group says a case of incitement to public violence has been opened against her. And defence witness Makosonke Zungu is expected to return to the High Court in Pretoria when the Senzumehiwa murder trial resumes this morning. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy on Joburg's Mike 1 today. A crash southbound Athol Oaklands, so Melrose area, coming off the N1 at Buccleuch. It's heavy all the way on that Mike 1 through Woodmead, through Sandton and in towards that crash. And everybody going north having a look at it. So from Boysons up to Melrose and on to Greyston Drive, the Mike 1 full of traffic. Also a crash leading Soweto on the N1 north, just up by the Maresburg off-ramp, just up by Albertina Sicily. So coming out of Soweto on your way to Randburg, that's really heavy. Durban bound on the N3, going to get a surprise at Marion Hill Plaza. Big queues there where there aren't normally this time on a Tuesday morning. Normally you get straight through, but if you're arriving from Pietermaritzburg into Durban, there is a queue to work through there. Cape Town still really heavy. It looks like it's going to be another elongated sort of extended rush hour this morning. The N1 all the way back from Belleville through to the city centre. N2 at Robert Sobukwe just after the airport. You'll pick up queues all the way through to Hospital Bend. M3 solid as well from Constantia up through Bishop's Court, Newlands, all the way through to UCT. And just outside central Cape Town, if you're heading out towards Stellenbosch, all approaches R44 North, Adam Tusk coming in off Baden-Powell, and the 304 from Kayamandi. All of those approaches into central Stellenbosch absolutely heaving and jammed up. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sports with Dumi Nkgapele.
Dumi, who's this? South Africa. The world trusts you to host the World Cup. What do? You doubt yourselves. Mamma mia.
Well, that is former FIFA President Sepp Blatter, and he's making headlines because he's joined calls for fans to boycott the World Cup in the United States this year over safety concerns. Blatter supported Swiss lawyer Mark Peath, who warned the recent deaths in Minneapolis and strict U.S. security could put traveling supporters at risk. He suggested that fans might be better off watching the matches at home. The tournament, remember, it runs from the 11th of June to the 19th of July in the US, Canada and Mexico countries. Meanwhile, Everton settled for spoils with Leeds after Thierno Barry scored a late equaliser to secure a 1-1 Premier League draw yesterday. James Justin had given Leeds the lead with Everton booed off at half-time, but Barry struggled 14 minutes from the end to extend his good run of form. Everton remain 10th in the table, while Leeds stay 6 points clear of the relegation zone. Meanwhile, Kaizer Chiefs have extended captain Brendan Peterson's contract, keeping him at the club until June 2027. Now, the club triggered an option in Peterson's current deal, ending speculation over a new long-term contract. Peterson had originally signed a 2-year deal in February 2024, which included the option of extra season. In terms of cricket, Proteas T20 captain Aiden Markram says that it's exciting to have the squad back together after a grueling month of the SA20. South Africa face West Indies in Paarl this evening in the first of the 3-match T20 series, part of their build-up to next month's World Cup in India and Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it's exciting. Boys are still coming in drips and drabs at the moment, so I think it'll be good once we're all connected and we're all together. It'll most likely only be in Joburg, but it's nice to link up before you get on a plane and go. I think there's a bit of a positive in doing it that way. So a nice series to get back into the groove of things. Obviously, it is a bit different to SA20, and it's nice to not get the rust away, but just get back and settled in camp.
In terms of tennis, extreme heat disrupted the Australian Open again today. The temperatures forecast to reach 45 degrees Celsius. Organisers activated the highest heat stress level, forcing the roof to be closed at Radleva Arena for the remaining quarterfinals, while play on outdoor courts was suspended. World number 1 Arina Sabalenka won her quarterfinal earlier in temperatures of around 38 degrees. Meanwhile, Ben Shelton battled back from a set down to beat Casper Ruud 3-6, 6-4, 6-3 and 6-3 to reach the Australian Open quarterfinals and next faces Yannick Sinner. Finally, former Formula One legend Michael Schumacher is no longer confined to the bed. This is according to reports in the British media. The 7-time world champion has been out of the public eye since suffering serious brain injuries in a skiing accident 12 years ago, and sources close to the family says that the 57-year-old can now sit in a wheelchair and is able to be pushed around his home in Switzerland and in Spain. On that note, it is a wrap from my side. The
business update on SAFM.
All right, let's turn to Dauleng Lechela for the final update of the morning. Dauleng, let's start with Cash Build. They had an update and investors are disappointed.
That's right, Silas. Cash Build's latest trading update points to mounting pressure on household spending, with growth coming from expansion rather than stronger customer demand. Now, the building materials retailer says revenue edged up just 1% in the second quarter, but sales at existing stores fell 2%, suggesting customers are spending less at long established outlets. Transaction volumes tell a similar story. While total transactions rose 2%, activity at existing stores slipped 1%, with new shops carrying the growth. Now, for the half-year period, revenue increased 3%, largely due to store openings and the acquisition of Amper Alles. Cashbuild also reported selling inflation of only 0.8%, highlighting limited pricing power in a constrained consumer environment. Now, analysts say building materials groups typically outperform when economic growth accelerates, driven by stronger construction, renovation, and informal building activity. But in a weak growth environment, demand softens and expansion rather than consumer spending becomes the main source of revenue growth, which is what they say is currently playing out at Cash Build. But of course, with hopes that construction and infrastructure building will expand, there is hope that sales and revenue will improve in the coming months.
So interestingly, Ndauling, we've had a recurring theme in the last while about the rental market in Cape Town, but the residential market in the city centre. Spear Rate, on the other hand, are focusing on the office property market. Did I pronounce that name correctly? Is it Spear Rate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Spear Rate.
Okay.
So, yes.
Yeah.
So Spear Rate is a property company that is Western Cape focused. So they operate across the industry, that being office, retail, and industrial. And what they're seeing is a bit of a uptick, more a recovery within the office property sector, saying a shortage of office space in Cape Town's established business nodes is driving stronger occupancy and improving returns across its portfolio. Nasby Reed added that the return to office trend, combined with rising demand from small and medium-sized businesses, has led to falling vacancies and firmer rentals. In a trading update for the 10 months to end December, Spear said demand for office, industrial, and retail space in the region continues to outstrip supply, creating a competitive leasing environment. The group's headline earnings per share rose 2.8%, while it improved its overall vacancy rate to 5.6% from 9% a year earlier. Now, this has led Spear to lift its full-year income growth guidance to 5 to 6%. And with more cash on hand, it managed to complete more than 1 billion rands in property acquisitions. Industrial assets, in the meantime, remain the standout performer, supported by strong demand for logistics and warehousing space.
So with everything you've told us this morning being the backdrop and the context, what kind of a trading day can we expect today?
The local market's likely to open mixed to less. We're still likely going to see some pressure when it comes to those financial counters, those industrial counters. The miners, of course, will continue to rally as the Resi 10 does the heavy lifting on the back of a higher gold price. It continues to trade above $5,000 an ounce this morning. Now, that gold price rally also boosting the rand, which is trading at levels last seen in 2022 against the dollar. It's at 16.01 this hour against the greenback, 21.92 to the pound, and at 19.02 to the euro. Meanwhile, oil is trading sideways. Not much action playing out there. It's trading below $64 a barrel. Coming back to equities, stateside, futures mostly in the green. Investors there eyeing big tech earnings and a Fed rates decision. And then over in Asia, stocks mostly in positive territory, with investors cheering some upbeat economic data out of China.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for today. That's Ndauling Lechela. She's kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets throughout the 3 hours.
They delivered an exhilarating brand of the beautiful game, on and off the battlefield, in the boardroom, behind the scenes, the pitch personnel, coaches, administrators, and officials. Dress up and walk the purple carpet. It is her time to shine. Join the celebration of Sheroes and barrier breakers. Experience the Hollywood Best Super League Awards on Sunday, 1 February at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 1. Also available on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Building the future of human settlements smarter and stronger. Join the Human Settlements team, government and industry leaders, innovators and visionaries at the Innovative Building Technology Summit, where cutting-edge solutions drive sustainable, inclusive and resilient human settlements. From smart materials to advanced construction methods, this is where tomorrow's built environment takes shape. The date for the event, the 3rd to the 4th of February 2026, the venue, Nasrec Expo Center in Johannesburg. For more information, please send an email to ibt.summit@dhs.gov.za or visit dhs.gov.za or dhs.ibtsummit.co.za.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
All right, let's return to that conversation we started yesterday. In fact, we started it a couple of weeks ago and returned to it yesterday. Affordability in the city of Cape Town. Cape Town's housing crisis is deepening as rising rents, limited supply, and the rapid growth of short-term tourist accommodation reshape the city's social fabric. Critics warn touristification, that's the word that is being used, is hollowing out neighborhoods close to jobs and transport, pushing working residents further to the margins. While tourism brings revenue, many locals say it is coming at the cost of livable communities. Let's get a perspective from Professor Francois Virali, who is property economist but also emeritus professor at the University of Cape Town. Prof, good morning and thank you for your time. The broad question around which we've been framing this conversation has been to say, can a city really thrive when those who keep it running can no longer afford to live in it? And that's the question that Cape Town is grappling with, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I think that what we're seeing in this market is, first of all, two markets. And I think this is always the important point to remember. There's one market in the South African property market, which is a function of your income. 30% of your income goes to housing. And so that sets prices as to affordability. The problem we have in Cape Town is that we got a second market that has nothing to do with interest rates in South Africa, that has nothing to do with affordability, the percentage of the income. These are foreigners who are entering the market based on their view on how cheap the property market is, funding that comes from overseas. And I think this is exactly what we're, the problem we're facing. I mean, a property market is not a playground. It's a critical social component of any city. So yes, I've heard the argument, which says, oh, well, you know what, we've got tourism and this is the outcome. That's not the answer. But we can talk about that.
Yeah. So you it's interesting that you pinpoint the property market itself as opposed to tourism and everything else that comes with it, the Airbnbs and conversion to short term. But you're saying it's the investment in property that is one of the factors, investment including by foreigners investing in the market simply because of how they read the dynamics.
Absolutely. You know what? Tourism is great. I mean, I do a fair amount of work in Mauritius, for example, heavily reliant on tourists. You got hotels, tell the tourists to come and play that market. But for example, Mauritius is an example. Foreigners can only buy in specific schemes, right? Schemes that are available for foreign investors. So what you do is you say to foreigners, there's certain schemes will allow you to play in. But we're not going to allow the rest of the market to be determined by something of this sort. And I think your introduction is so important because, I've often used the 40 by 40 by 40 issue. For most South Africans, it's a 40 square meter house, 40 kilometers away from where you live, where you spend 40% of your income on transport. So if you're going to have a tourist policy, you've got to have a very clearly defined human settlements policy, and I don't think that's in place in Cape Town.
And again, Prof, that's also another interesting point you make. There are parallels that are drawn between other tourist attraction cities around the world. How do they grapple with that balance between a tourism policy and a human settlements policy?
Yeah, look. Again, there are quite a number of countries where many of us have traveled, where you see a high-end tourism and next to it an affordable housing market. Those worlds can work together. Look, the issue is, yes, we can turn Cape Town into a sort of Cannes, south of France scenario, but we also have another issue in the South African context. And that is we're still working with the legacies of the apartheid cities, where people were put in dormitory townships 40 kilometers away. We've got to get this right. And it's hard, but the issue is not, you can't run an economic policy or a tourist policy on the basis, well, things are going right at the moment. Let's be happy we have tourists. In the long term, we will sort out the housing markets. If you look at Cape Town, and this is what you see in many cities in South Africa, in Cape Town, 80% of the population probably has an average income below 22,000 rands. When you get 22,000 rands, you can afford something at about 700,000. You can probably rent for about 7,000. Now, the average Cape Townian can't find that stock, and certainly not in the CBD. But we can talk about Airbnb as well, which is a whole problem by itself.
In fact, go there, talk about Airbnb. The calculation that some homeowners are making, that actually at peak periods, I can make what I would ordinarily make from rental in a space of a couple of months, I can make it within a space of a couple of weeks. How much of a factor is it in this mix?
Look, if you look at the city of Cape Town at the moment, about 80% of the units are, first of all, second investments. So this is not a first investment. And I just need to make a point here. The property market is not just an investment story. And, we commoditize it as an investment, but it's where people live at the end of the day. Yes, it's nice when your property increases in value, but that's not the only issue. So these are investments, largely in the Cape Town CBD, and 80% of those units in and around the CBD are actually Airbnb units. We've got more Airbnb units at the moment in the city of Cape Town than in Barcelona. So where do the issue? And you're quite right that on average, if you rent out your Airbnb for about 4 months, you probably are making as much as what people make on a long-term lease in a year. So yes, so you go through the summer months and you rent it out. And then what? Some people just leave their flat during the summer months and come back. But the issue is that throughout markets, throughout cities around the world, we've come to a point where we need to look at this very carefully. And there is one other point that I just want to highlight here, and that is because of the strength of that market, developers are largely building one-bedroom units. Why? Because one-bedroom units is easily sold, easily put on the Airbnb market. So the typology, the type of flats are not there to cater for families or for others who are looking for a home.
Lastly, Prof, is there a grappling with these issues among policymakers, and is enough being done by those on the outside, say civil society, to force these conversations onto the policy debate and policy dialogue?
I think that we largely lack a housing policy, a human settlements policy. And I think that we run the risk that a policy is in place that just reacts every time Indefuna and Quasi NGOs come up. Well, you respond to it. But I'm not seeing a coherent human settlements policy at the moment that tries to find the balance between the success of a story, tourism, and on the other hand, ensuring that Cape Townians can afford a home.
All right, Prof, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. Really appreciate your insights. Professor Francois Veroli, who is a property economist, emeritus professor at the University of Cape Town.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Western side of Joburg, we're talking Henry Potgieter. If you're on your way out towards Pinehaven, there's a massive backlog of traffic this morning. Just got a tweet through from Dr. Mandaliso saying, normally takes him 5 minutes, taking an hour. That's how bad it is this morning. Out through Ramesuck, Hendrik Potgieter, massive, out towards the sort of N14 Pinehaven area. Lights down, Malabongwe at the N1, very slow coming through the highway in towards Stratham Park. Crash on the Mike 1 South at Athol Oaklands, still badly backing up traffic on the run from Buccleuch. So you'll come off the N1, which isn't moving too bad into Buccleuch, and then you'll get onto the Mike 1 and just sit all the way down Woodmead, Santon, right through Melrose, down towards Athol Oaklands. Still fairly heavy, leaving Soweto with a crash on the N1 North at Marersburg, backlogging traffic from almost Rancho Road territory, and Allendale Road out of Tembisa across through towards Carstenoff Clinic area on your way to Midrand stays heavy as well. Durban bound on the N3. We've been tracking delays this morning at Marion Hill Plaza. It's still all clogged up, very unusual for this time of day. A crash involving a truck on the M19 at Reservoir Hills if you're coming off the N2 or off Mgena Road out through towards sort of Pinetown and Claremont, New Germany side, getting into Reservoir Hills. Quite slow as you approach that particular scene. And Cape Town, we mentioned it is going to be an elongated rush hour this morning just due to the volumes. The M1 inbound from Plattercliff Hill all the way to City Centre. N2 is at Robert Sabukweta Hospital Bend. M5 is around Crombourne Road up towards the N2. And even that M3 has been jam-packed this morning. It still is from Constantia up through Newlands towards UCT. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Want to know how much money Outsurance saves 35-year-old Zanai on her car insurance?
A whopping 1,180 rand.
That's an incredible 1,180 rand monthly saving on Zanai's 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. And the out bonus she'll get?
It is close to 6,500 rand in 3 years if I'm claim-free.
Nice. How much money could Outsurance save you? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Get Barter school shoes at Spar for 75 Rand when you spend 350 Rand or more and swipe your rewards card. Buy 1 litre Spar Long Life Milk, 6-pack, full cream or low fat for 89.99 plus 200 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 750 gram Nescafe Real Coffee tin or 800 gram pouch for 129.99 plus 300 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Price is valid from 20 Jan till 8 Feb while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
January is for intention setting, less noise, more meaning. So say yes. Yes to beauty, yes to culture, yes to slowing down, and yes to Montreux Jazz Festival Franschhoek, where Montreux meets Africa with curated global and African music in an intimate setting. Don't miss it. Get your tickets at the end of January and make this your yes moment. Montreux Jazz Festival Franschhoek. Say yes. Visit mjfsa.com for details.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, Mr. Munosi, good morning to you. You see, Mr. Munosi, when I stand for public office, you should vote for me. I make a promise and I keep it. I said I'll come back to you. I'll call you back, and I did.
Yes, sir. How are you, sir?
Very well. How are you?
Fine. Mr. Thulasizwe has got a he's age of 95 years.
Mm-hmm.
He applied RDP houses in the Free State, Bloemfontein, and then they replied she's been approved. Since she was allocated the funds to the contract, up to so far there's no any contract. We don't know who is the contract. We traveled the whole year last year. Up to so far there's no any development. And then we don't know who is the contract, the name of the contractor, and
yes,
and I need the help so that we can help my mother to get the house.
How old is your mother?
95 years.
95. And when was she approved for this house?
According to them, they say last year, some couple of January.
So a full year has passed and there's no movement in terms of the house being built.
Yes, there's no housing, but when you go there, they say the contract was being allocated according to their testing, but we don't know who is the contract, the name of the contract, and I'm struggling. I'm going all around, and I'm unemployed at this stage. I can't do anything.
Where is this in Bloemfontein?
Yes, I'm staying in Botshabelo, but anything we done in Bloemfontein is the regional office.
Yeah, and that's where the house is supposed to be built, in Bloemfontein.
No, Botshabelo.
In Botshabelo.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Monosi, hold on. Let the team take your details. Hopefully we have enough of a conscientious civil servant who will be listening somewhere within the organogram of the government of the Free State. National government, public protector, someone listening and thinking this is not right. A 95-year-old had her house approved early last year and has been told that it's been allocated to a contractor, but absolutely nothing is happening. Having waited that long to own a house, it's only fair that the state should deliver on this. I don't think I need to say more. So hopefully we'll hear from someone with the wherewithal to respond to that situation that Mr. Monosi is facing in the Free State. So the team will take your details there, Mr. Monosi. Do stay on the line. Let me go to your voice notes now. A lot of you wanting to talk about the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
Morning, Tulas. It's Chris in Kampanan. The testimony by witness E and many others before, as well as the things that we have seen, really shows that most of these ministers do not understand the use of public power and where are the limits when use become abuse. Clearly, Senzo Mchunu abuses public authority for his political gains as a political party and a political party representative. That's clear. Where do we draw the line? Civic education becomes important, where it should start direct there in Parliament. Thanks.
Good morning, Tulas. Yeah, no, we are all scared for the witnesses there by Madlanga Commission there. But again, the other thing is that even if their voices could be altered, these guys will still know who the people are, because they know the stories. They know who knows what and who would tell it. So if they want to kill them, if they are not protected, they will still get them. No matter how, even if actually, for me, it will still be fine for them to just appear because they know them anyway. It's only us who don't know them. But the people that they are accused don't know who these people are. I'm Joe in the Western Cape.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Good morning to the SAFM listeners. The more I listen to the witnesses from the Madlanga Commission, the more I get to know how deep the debt within our police department and politician is. It's so disappointing. What is alleged to have been happening at the top there, it's very disappointing. It's made me wonder how safe we are as the community. Segwanele, Pretoria.
All right, let's leave it there. On that note, thank you for that, Segwanele. And I think I've made the point previously that from the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, the clear sense I'm getting is that some crimes will be crimes in the sense of state versus XYZ, and other crimes will be political and governance crimes, where it will be the people versus X, Y, and Z. And what will we do with it all once we've gathered all of that evidence? That is the question. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your engagement as always. The Talking Point with Kethe Mohlahlana is up next here on SAFM after the news at 9 with N. Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, calls for a probe into the ANC's election integrity, and former FIFA president urges fans to boycott the World Cup in the US. Good morning. Civic organisation Sanko in Gauteng has called for an urgent investigation into the ANC's election integrity. This follows the discovery of ballot papers at a house in Pretoria. The ballots were from the party's Johannesburg conference, which saw Loyiso Masuku elected as the region's new chairperson. There are allegations of manipulation of the elective conference. The ANC has accused Sanko of trying to undermine its newly elected leadership. Sanko's Gauteng chairperson, Abram Mashishi.
This thing of the African National Congress, it doesn't surprise us, as we all know that even the deputy president declared that people must be allowed to use money. It's possible that the IEC official can be bought. And if that has happened, the IEC official must be held accountable and that conference must be rerun. There must be a thorough investigation